Chair Montesino, may you please repeat the item?
So now, after some technical difficulties, can we go to number 4 and accept the grant award for 128.7 million in SB1 funds from the California Transportation Commission?
And here today from the California Transportation Commission, we have Bob Tiffany, who is our local commissioner, background from San Benito. So thank you very much, Bob, for being here.
Sure.
Commissioner.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. As just mentioned, my name is Bob Tiffany. I'm a member of the California Transportation Commission, and also Sarah just mentioned I'm a native of Hollister, San Diego County, and in the Central Coast. So I'm particularly happy to be here today. On behalf of the Commission, I'd like to congratulate the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission on this exciting achievement. This project is a great example of the multimodal approach envisioned by SB1 program to fund transportation solutions that are environmentally sustainable, reduce costs for travelers, and create jobs. The Watsonville-Santa Cruz Multimodal Corridor Program delivers multimodal improvements and alleviates congestion across 3 main routes through investments that span bus on shoulder lanes, cross-county transit, and coastal bike and pedestrian facility enhancements. The project supports safer first and last mile access to schools, jobs, healthcare, and recreational activities, all while increasing climate resilience in the Central Coast. The California Transportation Commission is pleased to be a funding partner that is awarding over $128.7 million from the SB1 Solutions for Congested Corridors program and local partnership competitive program to help fund this project. This funding leverages an additional $154.5 million in local, regional, and federal funding and builds on top of the $107.2 million of SB1 funds that were awarded by the Commission in 2020. Most importantly, this funding will allow for the completion of the multimodal corridor that RTC envisioned and planned along Highway 1, creating better, safer, and more sustainable travel alternatives between Watsonville and Santa Cruz. This is a great example of what can be achieved when state, regional, and local partners work together towards a shared vision. The Commission looks forward to the completion of this project and our continued partnership. And now, on behalf of the California Transportation Commission, I'd like to present a check for $128.7 million to the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission. Congratulations.
I'm pretty sure my local bank would be happy to see a big check like that. But thank you, and thank you. You know, it's a tremendous achievement. You know, we did the last cycle and we didn't get awarded. So for us to be awarded this cycle around, and it's a tremendous achievement for our community with all the transportation that we have. So with that, I'm going to go out to number 5 is oral comments. Go ahead. Okay. Accept. So I'm gonna go first out for public comment. Anybody in the chambers to have any public comment? Go ahead. Yeah, in relations to the award of 128.7 million.
Chair, could you speak louder?
Yes.
Thank you.
May I speak?
Go ahead.
Lowell Hurst, Councilman Emeritus from Watsonville, longtime member of RTC in many decades. Nothing says I love you like a check. And so today is a great love fest here. So congratulations, and I think it was well earned because nothing says I love you like a check.
Thank you. Anybody else? I don't see anybody else in chambers. Anybody online?
Yes, we do have a few speakers. Michael Saint.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners, and good morning. Michael Saint with Campaign for Sustainable Transportation and Aptos resident. And I started my advocacy work 9 years ago, just before the passing of the old Measure D in November of 2016. Before I voted, I read all the campaign literature, asked a few questions of my new advocacy friends to clarify some of the questions. I knew nothing about induced demand, VMT, greenhouse gas emissions, etc. Having lived in Santa Cruz County for those 27 years and having fallen in love with the beauty and way of life of a quaint seaside town, I definitely knew I didn't want a possible 8-lane future freeway in Santa Cruz County or the Ox lanes, which are just a stepping stone to the bigger project. I voted no on D 9 years ago. I have been somewhat naive about thinking Santa Cruz was a progressive county when it came to climate and the environment. I felt Santa Cruz was going to become a shining example to the rest of the world on how to help mitigate the effects of climate change through a total remodel of our transportation system. After the last 9 years, we have more than likely increased our greenhouse gas emissions and VMT by widening highway, with actually more highway widening in the future planned. But I still have hope that some elected official or appointee will come along and change the direction towards a more modern and technologically advanced transportation system that actually relieves congestion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else?
With the phone number, last 3 digits, 915.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning. This is Becky Steinbrunner, also a resident of Aptos. Congratulations on receiving this big check, but just you must know that many of the members of the public that will be affected by this huge project are very upset by the property takings that it will require. Notably, the beautiful and very significant heritage trees along Highway 1, will be chopped down. At a time when greenhouse gases are supposed to be being reduced, the trees are even more important to maintain, to absorb carbon. So please, do not chop down these amazing heritage redwood trees to widen the highway. I also want to take protest against the property takings of the Bayview Hotel and the neighboring Trout Gulch crossings that would be incumbent upon putting the trail on their side of the tracks. It is ridiculous because there is already bike path through the village. And I also lastly want to say that the property agreements with Mr. Steinberg for the aerial easement of the viaduct are not going well. And the state officials need to know that. There are a lot of problems happening with the RTC and neighboring property owners. I hope that it smooths out and the trees will be saved and people's property rights and values will be preserved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Peoples.
Sorry. Hi, this is Brian Peoples with Trail Now. Congratulations on receiving the funds. We are in full support of widening Highway 1 with the multi-modular plan of bus on shoulder. Phenomenal, great work. I do want to echo Becky's comments about property rights. The RTC needs to focus on partnership with the property owners and not taking up land that's not really required for the trail. So I agree. I'm in collaboration with her and Mr. Steinbeck. So would like to see better communication on dealing with the adjacent properties. But again, appreciate the work RTC, CTC, and all those involved in getting this money to finish up phase 3 of Highway 1 widening. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was our last speaker.
Thank you. I'll close that comment period and bring it back to the commission for a minute.
Move the staff recommendation.
Second. It's been moved in second. We have to take a roll
Chair,
call.
can I just make one brief comment? Thank you. I just wanted to thank Commissioner Tiffany for coming here today and the whole CTC. We had the opportunity to celebrate a ribbon cutting and the opening of really the first phase of this project last week. I was incredibly well attended. I think we easily had over 100 people there, as well as a number of commissioners. Thanks to everyone who came. The electricity and excitement out there was just palpable. This project is truly great. We've seen it kind of unfold one section at a time. First, in the opening of the new auxiliary lanes, which have made driving in Mid-County so much better. Then in the protected bike lanes going in on SoCal Drive, which all of a sudden I'm seeing people of all ages bike there in Mid-County, which I've never seen before. And then finally in the opening of our iconic Whale Bridge. And I think anytime you drive under that, you're going to see people on it. There was a lot of critics that it wouldn't get used because it's close to an overpass about half mile away. Well, it really connects two parts of our community that have long been divided by the highway. I think there's no question now that Live Oak extends all the way up to SoCal Gardens and includes the hospital. That was definitely a question before because of that division. And so it's really a great project. We also have to, can't repeat enough how lucky we are in this community have such a great multimodal vision. I've had the opportunity to travel a little bit, representing the commission, been to the self-help counties conference, and self-help so named because these are counties or jurisdictions that have passed a local sales tax measure. And already not everyone has done that the way that our community has. But what makes our community so unique is that we committed to a multimodal expenditure plan when we passed that. And I mean, that really sets us apart in this state. And it's a beautiful vision and feels very rewarding to have that acknowledged by the CTC. So thank you. And then finally, this whole project is really the perfect time, happening at the perfect time, at a time when we need to build more infill housing, when we need to facilitate people walking to more of their daily needs. We're in a decade when the family vehicle of choice is not a station wagon, it's a rad wagon, and we're really building the infrastructure to facilitate that. So thank you again. This is just a great project, beautiful vision, perfect timing. Thank you to the CTC for acknowledging that.
Brief comment too. I just want to, also thank Commissioner Bob Tiffany for being here, but I really want to commend and congratulate all the staff that made this happen. Sarah and all the staff that, led the charge on this, and everyone at RTC, but also all the folks that attended or called in for the CTC meetings leading up to this check that we had here today. So thank you all.
Wait, go ahead.
Sarah, I want to just call out your exquisite grant writing skills. You and your staff really have outdone yourself. This is the biggest award I think ever received in Santa Cruz County. So again, thank you. Thank you, Felipe, for pointing out the good work of staff. We're really, really appreciative. This is really exciting. As a young mom who had to sit in that congestion on Highway 1 to go 6 miles, it would take an hour every day of my life when I had to drive up to the Emmeline complex to work at child welfare. I had 2 tiny babies at home who needed me, and I can't get back those 2 hours of my life that I sat in this horrible congestion on Highway 1. It wasn't fair for me or for the rest of the families, and certainly not for our constituents and our public who live in South County. It's not fair. And so I am really very pleased that we're going to have a multimodal transportation situation on Highway 1. We're going to expand it. We'll have the bus on shoulder. It's going to make things a lot easier, I hope, for people. So thank you for your continued support for this. And I want to also thank my colleague Manu Koenig, who put in his allocation for the SoCal Drive corridor, which is not even in his district, but he's helping my corridor out, which will be a piece of this grant that we've gotten to increase multimodal transportation in our region. So thank you, Manu, very, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Adding my congratulations and thanks to CTC for providing this funding. But I did want to not forget about the Rail Trail Segment 12, because not only is this a critical part of the whole multimodal approach, but while the so-called bikeway project, a buffer project is really significant, getting through Aptos Village, where the railroad bridges go over, is still going to be a dangerous situation till segment 12 is built, because it's with the trail adjacent to the rail line going through that segment that'll finally become safe for bike riders. Having almost been wiped out at that intersection a couple of times, it's extremely dangerous, and I understand it cannot be really proved on the street. So the rail trail segment is going to be critical in terms of increasing the safety. So while I think it's important to have the SoCal buffer program, I've written it, it's great. It's going to be a multimodal approach from getting this project built is going to be very beneficial, but the segment 12 of the rail trail is essential at overall.
Thank you. And with that, I see no other comments. Ms. Commissioner Downey.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to add to Commissioner Schifrin's comments about segment 12 of the rail trail. Probably all of us have heard Aptos referred as the choker of the morning commute. So this will go to opening that up both along the trail, SoCal Drive, and of course with the bus on shoulder and auxiliary lanes. Hopefully we'll see a little bit of a widening there and make that drive a little faster for our commuters. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else? I'm going to go and make a roll call, but we have to, because of the commissioner.
Correct.
So,
Commissioner Jensen,
Aye.
Commissioner Keeley, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Montesino,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Alternate Schifrin,
Aye.
Commissioner DeSerpa,
Aye.
Commissioner Koenig,
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Downing,
Aye.
Commissioner Kitos Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Leonor,
Aye.
and that passes unanimously.
Thank you. So now we're going to move on to oral communications, and this is for the public on stuff not at the agenda. So let's try to keep it, the stuff not at the agenda, because there's action items or not action items, but there's items that are going to take a while. So if we can just keep it to items not at the agenda at this time. So you're in chambers.
My name is George Au, and I have a short statement to read. Based on the Rail and Trail Project update from June 12, 2025, it is our understanding that the proposed plan would be to move the rail tracks closer to the building we own on the corner of Walker and West Beach Street in Watsonville. It would fence the tracks and place a new railway station directly adjacent to and/or on a portion of our property. This plan would put most, if not all, of the locally owned businesses that fill our 50,000 square foot industrial building out of business, as they could no longer function as they currently do by accessing the building for parking and deliveries from Walker Street.
That's our timer, and you would present those comments out to us so we can get a copy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners, for all your hard work. Lonnie Faulkner, Equity Transit. 50 miles of single-track passenger rail service, mostly rebuilt from scratch on a line that had not been used for 60 years, passing through extremely sensitive estuarial habitats, 27 replaced bridges, including replacing the Petaluma Bridge, which spins to allow yachts to pass underneath, can be back in place in 110 seconds. A passenger rail service that, less than a year after opening, was wildly popular and breaking records. The cost for all of this work, $553 million in 2018. In today's dollars, that's about $1 billion, far less than $4.3 billion. This July, SMART saw 8,000 passengers a day, well over 200% pre-COVID levels. The general manager of SMART in 2018, Farhad Mansour, presented valuable information with the RTC at that time, before Sarah Christensen and even before Guy Preston's time here. It would be valuable to the public to bring SMART back to present to this body.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Morning, Commissioners. Jack Brown from Aptos. Thank you for the upgraded bike lanes on Soquel Drive. As someone who's bike commuted nearly 1,000 miles on that corridor this year, I truly appreciate the investment in safer infrastructure. That said, I want to raise a serious concern. As you probably noticed, many of these bollards have been struck. When they're struck, the black caps here at the end would get knocked off. Over 1,000 bollards were installed last week. When I was riding to work, I only counted 39 caps remaining on top of these on there. So that basically comes down to 93% of the vertical bollards have been struck by vehicles. This evidence reveals how often vehicles intrude into the bike lane. We need a fully protected bike corridors for truly safeguard cyclists. The unused rail corridor offers the best opportunity to quickly build that kind of infrastructure. I urge you to prioritize real physical protection in the future projects, not just visibility. Thank you again for your time and continued work to support active transportation.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Greg Kastner, and I live here in Scotts Valley. Given what I've heard today and the context of my remarks, it's evident that I'm jumping on the train way late. but I'll continue and be brief. I recently reviewed the report with focus on chapters 2, 3, and 10, and I don't see how the report presents a case for proceeding with the rail
This is
project.
related to the are there going to be public comment later?
Later?
Mhm.
Okay,
This is
Thank you.
the unrelated items that are not on the agenda.
gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Members of the commission, my name is Eliel Balayich, Watsonville resident. I just wanted to work off of the previous speaker for clarification. I believe agenda item 26 pertains to your zero emission passenger rail under public hearings. So to be clear, you're going to accept public comment during that item?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, William Au, representing Au Family Properties, and the 6 generations have been in Santa Cruz County since that time. To kind of follow up what my father said is that we are concerned about some of the changes that are being potentially proposed that would relocate some of the current rail corridor adjacent to either our properties or other adjacent businesses that may impact them negatively. We work closely with the city of Watsonville on technical advisory commissions for downtowns and others for revitalization to make it as strong as possible. And one of the areas of that corridor we note to be extremely robust and strong. And one of the areas we want to keep that to be to at the same time enhance everything that's happening on Main Street in downtown Watsonville. So just of great concern of please recognize the impact it could be causing if there's a change or a shift in the line. No comment on what it's going to be used for per se, but it also does affect us in other properties that we have throughout the county. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
And congratulations on the funding. That's amazing.
Good morning, commissioners and alternates. I am Lowell Hurst, and I am a resident of Watsonville, but I'm also a constituent of Mr. Serpa. And I wanted to follow up on some of her comments, and I'm here really to give the traffic report. The traffic backed up in between Marmonte and San Andreas this morning, and it was a crawl. It was heavy traffic all the way. Really, all the way, and therefore you got a lot of work to do. You know, it's a massive project, and I'm glad that there's progress being made. But hey, when you drive through it, you see it firsthand. Thank you.
Thank you. I see nobody else here in chambers. Anybody online?
Steinbruner?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I would like to just register my concern about the problems ongoing with the property owners of the Castle Estates mobile home and Blue and Gold mobile home parks in segments 10 and 11. I feel that they are being singled out. I looked at the properties of 1066 41st Avenue, the Capitola Beach Villas. They are even closer. And I cannot imagine that that property is also encroaching, but I've seen no action, at least publicly, against them as the RTC has taken against the elderly fixed income residents of the Castle Estates and Blue and Gold mobile home parks. I ask that the RTC please back off. These people are extremely stressed. This is their investment, this is their home, and they are being asked to move, demanded to move. It is impossible. Please back off. Give them time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean?
Today we've already heard from the Au family, once seen as leaders in Santa Cruz County. They sit on the Greenway board, and also have tried to. They've heavily contributed to the downtown Watsonville plan. It appears that they want to have renters who live in rarefied properties. If South County is constricted from, moving freely throughout the rest of the county, that rarefies the property. They can upcharge you the rent. So be careful who you are taking your cues from. They're not all the heroes of Santa Cruz culture anymore.
We have no other speakers.
With that, we're gonna move on to consent agenda. All these items are routine based. So any commissioner have any questions? Seeing none, I'm gonna go.
Chairman, if I may, item 18 on the consent calendar agenda is the amendment to the executive director's contract. Under California law, we're required to an overview of the terms into the record before the commission takes action. So as the commission is aware, this is a contract to extend Ms. Christensen's contract for another year and also to increase her salary to an annualized amount of $278,168.
Thank you for that. And now I'm gonna go out to the public in chambers on the consent agenda. So anybody have a comment on the consent agenda in chambers? Seeing none, online,
We have no speakers.
no speakers, bring it back to the commission.
So moved.
So it's been moved. It's been second,
I have a comment on the consent agenda. I have two.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
First, on behalf of Metro, we'd like to thank Executive Director Christensen for your July 7th letters to the U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary supporting the Santa Cruz Metro applications for the new operations and maintenance facility in Watsonville that was destroyed in the Loma Prieta earthquake in 1989, and replacement and expansion of the paratransit vehicle fleet to better serve our Paracruz clients who currently ride in vehicles that are well past their expected lifespan, but we're there to rescue our most vulnerable residents during recent floods and fires. So thank you. My question is about the legislative update. There's an item about the U.S. Department of Transportation's launch on July 1st of the Safe Arterials and Everyone initiative. Has RTC staff been asked for a list of local locations by our State Department of Transportation, or does the state already have this information? Because Senator Duffy requested states to submit a list of arterial segments and intersections with safety and operational concerns within 60 days of launching the initiative, and that is September 1st.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Max Friedman of your staff. I prepared the staff report. To my understanding, we have not been contacted yet regarding this, but I'm monitoring this and I'll come to the commission with updates if I do hear anything.
Thank you.
Chair, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, just on item 6, would I have to recuse myself of the draft meeting minutes from June 12th meeting since I was not here?
That's
You can note the abstention for the record. But you can vote on the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that, yeah.
Oh. He can abstain since he, as I understand, was not present. So he's abstaining from of the. So yes, he can, and note it for the record. Doesn't have to be consent.
Okay. So with that, we're going to move on to roll call.
Commissioner Jensen,
Abstain.
Commissioner Keeley, Commissioner Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner Montesino,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Alternate Schifrin, Commissioner DeSerpa,
Aye.
Commissioner Koenig,
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Downing,
Aye.
Commissioner Kitos Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Leonor,
Aye.
and that passes unanimously. Chair, can you tell me who the second was for that motion?
I think.
Okay, thank you.
So with that, it passes. So now we're going to go into 23, Commissioners Report. Any Commissioners Report?
Yes, 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 Chair, I have.
Commissioner Downey.
Yesterday, the Santa Cruz Metropolitan Transit District announced that our CEO, Corey Aldridge, has been appointed to the Board of Directors of the American Public Transportation Association, known as APTA. It's a prestigious honor recognizing his leadership and commitment to advancing public transit nationwide. Corey's appointment to the APTA board is a testament to his leadership and tireless advocacy for inclusive, sustainable, and innovative transit solutions. And we are glad to see his expertise recognized on the national level. His role on this board will allow him to bring our Santa Cruz values and priorities to the national stage, to collaborate with peers to address the evolving challenges and opportunities facing transit agencies. The APTA Board of Directors plays a critical role in guiding the strategic direction of the association, advocating for federal support, and fostering innovative measures across the industry. And Corey's appointment ensures that Metro will have a strong voice in these conversations. My other announcement is Week Without Driving is fast approaching, and plans are underway throughout our cities and counties to recognize the importance of keeping pedestrians and cyclists safe whenever we travel our local roads. Our countywide event planned for September 30th at the Capitola Mall near the Metro Transit Center will include local pedestrian safety agencies and advocates, opportunities to try out bikes, experience the challenges of using a wheelchair, and other non-driving ways to travel. And we'll have food trucks and, of course, prizes. This week is about caring for students, seniors, commuters, and family and friends who do not drive. Giving them the space and time to get where they need to go is so easy when we slow down and pay attention behind the wheel. We are also challenging our elected and appointed officials to get out of the car during this week, to walk and roll in the shoes of those who have no other choice. The County Department of Development and Infrastructure, the Community Traffic Safety Coalition, and Santa Cruz Metro are this year's hosts, so please contact us for more information. The Week Without Driving runs September 30th through October 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, Commissioner Clark.
Yeah, good morning, commissioners and everyone. Welcome to Scotts Valley. Happy to have you here. I just want to report out that on August 4th, we had the initial kickoff meeting for the ad hoc committee to address the encroachments on segment 10 of the rail line. We discussed the impact and mitigations of the encroachments, and we'll continue our work with staff and staff attorneys as well.
Thank you for those who volunteer for, to sit on that,
Really quick.
because it's really hard. Commissioner.
So we recently had the opportunity to visit several sister cities with our sister city committees of Michoacan and Jalisco. And I was really excited to go around there, different places, and see, especially Lake Chapala. They had protected bike lanes around the perimeter of the biggest lake in Mexico, the country. And they told me that initially they had put these concrete blocks for the protected bike lanes that were about 10, 12 feet with, arrows going both ways, but they changed it to a more artistic design. They had sort of a serrated concrete, modernistic kind of look, which was really exciting to see because they said that the entire public there in every municipality loved them. And, when we went to the museum of some of those cities that we went to, they actually had bicycle races back in the 1950s and 60s throughout that whole perimeter, and even Michoacan had the same thing. So it was really exciting to see, and the public really loves it. And it kind of gives me hope to see that we can create a better Santa Cruz County, that just, based off looking at other countries. And most of the folks that are from Watsonville are from those two cities, municipalities in Tangancícuaro, Michoacan, and Ocotepec, Jalisco. There's about 14,000 people in Watsonville from there, and about 12,000 from San Pedro Tezistan, small little town. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Lenore. Go ahead.
Good morning, committee. Good morning, Chair Montesino. As you all know, I'm going to be stepping into the role of a commissioner for Mr. Rockin. So I am really thrilled I'm thrilled to be into the role of RTC commissioner, ready to embrace the challenge of filling the substantial shoes left behind by Mr. Watkins. Today, I sit here before you, just as an advocate for South County representing South County, but as a passionate advocate also for the vibrant South County and Santa Cruz County. I place a potential yet yearning alternative modes of transit. We need alternative modes of transportation. As I embark in this adventurous journey, together I am committed to exploring initiative solutions that meet the unique needs of our residents. The quest for sustainable, efficient, and accessible transit options. As not just as a goal, it's an adventure waiting to unfold. With your support, we'll navigate the twists and turns of transportation planning, ensuring that everyone in our community has the opportunity to embark in their own journey, whether it's to work, school, or simply exploring our beautiful Santa Cruz County. Together, let's pave the way for a future where alternative transportation thrives in Santa Cruz County. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and thank you. I really want to take this opportunity to also recognize the passing of our Commissioner Michael Rockin. He was, I known Michael Rockin for a lot of part of my lifetime because I've been employed with Santa Cruz Metro for 26 years now, and I've known him ever since, and he was a great advocate for City of Santa Cruz. But for transportation, Metro, most of the years he was, even if he was not elected, he was appointed, but he was always providing that guidance, that the wherewithal to be able to continue transportation. And then he was at the commission for a lot of years that provided guidance to also the commission when, it was first, with the county. Then afterwards, it's a sole commission. So it's a great loss that we're gonna miss him, and that the leadership that he provided throughout for both agencies is greatly gonna be missed. Thank you. So with that, we're gonna, if you can see, some pictures of in his memory, but like I said, he functioned in a lot of transportation. He saw the opening of the Watsonville transit stations. He saw, the opening of Scotts Valley transit station. So he was there in the midst of our transportations throughout the county. I just really want to thank for all his work that he provided Santa Cruz County.
Just want to thank you for that statement. Mike will be very active. I think he was a very rational. He was certainly dedicated to not only to the city of Santa Cruz, started life, but to the entire county. Well, thank you for your.
Well, thank you. And with that, we're gonna move on to the Caltrans report. The director's report. I'm sorry, I'm skipping.
I have a PowerPoint this morning. Okay, maybe I don't. I want to show some photos. I will get started on the Go Bike report update. So the Go Bike Incentive Program launched in June in partnership with Ecology Action. With the goal of encouraging people who live or work in Santa Cruz County to switch from driving to biking. The program provides cash vouchers to eligible participants for discounts on bikes, e-bikes, and B-cycle memberships. To date, we've received 510 applications. 20% are from South County, and all available funds were allocated. That's $350,000 were spent. And a wait list was open. This shows the success of the program. Okay. We will continue to encourage people to join the wait list to be considered if additional funding becomes available. We want to thank everybody who has applied for this program and for their enthusiasm for biking in our county. So now we would like to have a call for interest for the Coast Rail Coordinating Council. The Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission is part of the CRCC. It is, the CRCC is made up of one member from each of the following regions. So San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, Santa Cruz, TMC, and Ventura County Transportation Commission. And the mission of the CRCC is to improve the frequency, speed, reliability, and ease of use of passenger trains on the coastal route between San Francisco and Los Angeles. If interested, no, go back. One more. It's reading from it, sorry. If interested, please contact me or Chair Montesino. Okay, moving on to an update on the 2025 Consolidated Grants Program. We launched this Consolidated Grants Program and held a workshop. This is a call for projects. There is approximately $15 million available, just under $15 million. The Commission approved this criteria, which will be used to evaluate applications. And staff recommendations will be presented to our committees and to the Commission this fall. Application materials can be found on the website, and the due date is September 15th. We also have, as part of this, we try to consolidate all of the available funding programs so that it's consolidated and efficient for staff to review and distribute the funds. So the SB1 Transit State of Good Repair Program released their guidelines from Caltrans in July. And so we have approximately $460,000 available of SGR funds this year. Applications for this particular program are due a little bit earlier on August 7th. Recommendations will be presented to our Elderly and Disabled Transportation Advisory Committee in August and the Commission in September. We have a funding update on the State Transportation Improvement Program, which was made late June. The total target share through fiscal year, and I have it on the screen. I don't want to read all the numbers, but in summary, the actual numbers that are available are slightly lower than what we originally anticipated, which is unfortunate because there's less funding to distribute throughout the region for all of the various transportation needs. I already gave my Go Bike update, but here's some cool statistics in terms of how many bikes were applied for. The types, you know, obviously electric bikes look like they were the most popular. I'm just going to skip through this. As you know, the RTC conducts a significant amount of outreach, and we have an upcoming community outreach opportunity for the Rural Highway Safety Plan. I have a QR code here. We have a survey that's available, and those who would like to take this survey to share your concerns or input on crash trends, types of potential safety enhancements, and we want to hear from you. So the closing date for the survey is being extended. We really would like to get your input, so please scan the QR code, go to our website, and be heard. We had a ribbon cutting last week, which was incredible. This is actually the first ribbon cutting that the RTC has hosted since passing Measure D. So this was a big deal. It was a very well attended event. And I'm just sharing some photos because it was, the energy was really incredible to experience it. Those who, we had folks showing up with signs, that hardly ever happens in a good way. So I really want to appreciate all of the commissioners who were present. We had, as you could see, Commissioner Koenig, this bridge is in his district, and he was the one who was able to actually cut the ribbon, which was really an incredible moment. And we just want to thank everybody who is in attendance and our state legislators who presented us with a recognition, which Shannon has over here. So this is pretty cool. We got a couple things presented to our agency. So this is the California State Legislature Certificate of Recognition for the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission in celebration of the completion of Phase 1 of the Highway 1 Bicycle and Pedestrian Overcrossing Project, auxiliary lanes, and bus on shoulder. So this is something that we should all be proud of. And then also, we were joined by Congressman Jimmy Panetta. So he also presented us with a certificate of special congressional recognition to our agency in celebration of completing the project. So just wanted to share that with you guys and keep the good vibes going. We got a big check and we got a couple cool certificates. So I think that concludes my director's report.
Thank you. Any commissioner questions?
One more thing. I'm so sorry, Commissioner. The Community Traffic Safety Coalition produced a crash report for the county highlighting the fact that our roads are among the very least safe in the entire state. Every 2 days, a motorist, bicyclist, or pedestrian is involved in a serious crash in the county. This is why RTC and local agencies are investing heavily in large projects in order to reach Vision Zero. The community can learn more about traffic safety issues and how they can help save lives at sctrafficsafety.org. That concludes my director's report. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hernandez.
I think me and Chair Montesino were sorry that we weren't able to make it, but if we can get some of that swag that you guys had there on the pictures. I like those cups, those steel cups especially. No, so I have to carry a paper cup.
We might be able to work that out.
I just want to say, it looked like a great event. A lot of pre-work, and seeing the pictures. It looked like a great event and really well attended. When we first opened it, me and Commissioner Hernandez were able to with Ms. Christensen, and there was already people joyous, walking around. They were like running, like I want to be the first one, and going around it. So a really joyous event. So, Commissioner Clark.
Yeah, just real quickly, Chair and Commissioners, I just want to take a minute and just recognize Director Christensen and her staff. July is a time when most of us who sit on city councils and stuff, we take that month off. And they did not take that month off. You look at everything that they delivered here. I was joking with them. I told them, I said, you guys are delivering at the rate of FedEx here. You need to get you t-shirts or something. I'll get you one too, Commissioner Montesino. But I just want to take a minute and just recognize the hard work that's going on. We've got some very ambitious projects that we're working on, things that are getting delivered. And the work that's being produced here by this team at RTC, I'm very proud of, and just wanted to take a minute to recognize everyone's effort who is dedicating themselves and working so hard to this. So thank you.
Thank you. See no other, oh, Commissioner Downing.
Yes, Director Christensen, you're over there. I see you. Yes, thank you for that wonderful celebration. I think it was some wonderful good news. You know, as our Congressman Panetta said, he's been giving a lot of press conferences that haven't been quite as fun. So I think that was something that the community really found extra special in that day. I also wanted to thank you for your comment about the Community Traffic Safety Coalition report. And although it has been published, I would request that this be sent out directly to your list and to the commissioners to read. It's frightening. It's just frightening. And as co-chair of that coalition, I just ask everyone to read it and pass it on to folks. You know, most of the people that are not here are busy driving to work and taking care of their families and trying to find rent and food. So they don't have time to do that. So it's our job to help them know that so that they can slow down, pay more attention, and pass that information on to their family and friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Leonard.
Director Christensen, so I'm really excited about the e-bike vouchers, but one thing that has been worrying me is that I had some close calls with e-bikes when I'm walking on the sidewalk. And as many of us heard, there was an incident, I think it was on the levee in Watsonville. Before they get their vouchers, do they get any kind of training, support from you guys to be able to move safely around the community before they get their vouchers? Is that something that's happening, or how do we go about that?
Yes, we have Sierra Tops, who is on staff, who runs the program, to answer that question. Thank you, Sierra.
Hi, Commissioner Sierra Top, working on the Go Bike program. Yes, so we're working closely with Ecology Action, and they have a whole safety training program that you have to go through before you receive your voucher. And
they're a few seconds later, I'm going to send you those attachments just so you can kind of see what things look like as using current data.
So yeah, we have a safety training video that's required, and Ecology Action's constantly doing great work to update education programs, especially for high schoolers and middle schoolers. So yeah, it's definitely a problem we're tracking and trying to get safety information out there. And we have other resources that we can share with agencies or parents if they request it.
Yeah, because I had a few of my coworkers, they did apply for a voucher and they're getting like $800, $500 for a $1,200 bike. So that's exciting because we are promoting another mode of transportation, and we want to get people out of their cars.
Yeah.
And walking and biking and skateboarding, and yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Schifrin.
Chair, yes, I'd like to follow up with that and ask a couple of questions that, as many of you know, I ride an electric bike and it's pedal assisted, but using it, there are more and more people who are riding bikes, one, that are not pedal assisted and that go above 20 miles an hour. And that, even for me on my bike, is a little bit terrorizing when somebody goes wailing by at a very high, what seems to be a very high speed. So I'm hoping that the vouchers that are being given are for pedal assisted bikes so that people also get some exercise, and that they have the 20-mile limit. Of course, now more and more bikes are being allowed that don't have that limit. I think bikes going above 20 miles an hour increase the danger not only to pedestrians, but to other bicyclists as well. So are there any restrictions on the electric bikes that are bought with the vouchers?
Yeah, so we aren't necessarily restricting if people can purchase a throttle bike or pedal assist, but all bikes are being purchased from local bike shops that we've partnered with who are ready to honor the voucher. And there's certain classifications for each type of bike, and I'm not sure the exact specifications, but speed is one of them. So they can't go above, I think, 20 miles per hour, what you were saying. But it would be the local bike shops that would know those specifications and where people are purchasing the bikes, but.
Well, I would suggest adding those as conditions to obtaining vouchers, because I think there are real safety issues in terms of both if you're pedaling yourself, I think you're going to be a little bit more cautious. If you're limited to a certain speed, you're going to be a little cautious. So I think this program is wonderful. I'm really happy that it's happening. And it needs to be expanded in the future, I hope. But I think this is a whole new mode of transportation to learn about some of the unintended consequences consideration. So thank you.
All right. With that, I think Commissioner Quiroz Carter has a comment.
Thank you, Chair. I will keep my comments super brief. I just wanted to quickly comment on the Whale Bridge and thank and congratulate staff for that. I was also on the Sister City trip, so I was not able to be present for that as much as I wanted to be. But it brings me joy every day to see little kids on the bridge. I'll see kids in the morning and they'll do the honk your horn sign, and it's just, they're jumping up and down happy. I see cyclists, and it just really brings me a lot of joy and comfort to know that we have more safety on the roads for our residents. So thank you.
Thank you. With that, seeing other commissioners, we're going to go out to public comment in chambers. Any public comment on the director's report?
Jacques Bertrand, former commissioner from Capitola. I'd like to say that Sarah was someone that I just was very happy to see when she came to the staff at RTC. And the fact that she's now your executive director is even better because she knows how to deliver on projects. This is an example of that. And her staff, you have to be able to be a good manager to deliver projects, and she can do that. The other thing I'd like to say is I am from Capitola. I haven't been here for a long time, but I'm a great fan of Jerry. Jerry is someone who's proven himself as a commissioner that understands what the community feels about issues, and he reaches out to other people in the community. This is something that is very important for representatives. Jerry's an example of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lonnie Faulkner, Equity Transit. Sarah Christensen and staff, thank you so much for the work on making our streets safer for cyclists and pedestrians. I've been working as a stakeholder on the Community Traffic Safety Coalition for years, and it had discovered the 2017 report and had kept asking, when is our next report going to come out? So it is really exciting to see the report come out, and it's really important that we start using that report to get the information out to the community. This seems shocking, but some of us, including those of you who know Deb, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her, Debbie Bolger, yes. We use the saying that if the number of people hit and killed and seriously injured by cars was the same as the number of people shot by a gun, it would really wake people up. And that's how impactful it really is. We are losing people every day. So thank you for that work and bringing that attention to this issue.
Thank you. Seeing no one else in chambers, anybody online?
Jean Brockbank.
Hi, Commissioners. Regarding the Director's report on the e-bike vouchers, 3 times in the past week, once at the Harbor, once at Jose Avenue Park, and once on Bromer Street, as pedestrians, we encountered more than 2 or 3 e-bike young people on the sidewalks, doing wheelies, and basically creating an unsafe walkway for us wherever we were. So did I hear the executive director? No, it was the other staff member saying that there's only a safety video required before the voucher is given to a potential purchaser of an e-bike. I'm going to ask for a test, a real test of the user on a roadway so that they can be seen following the rules of the roads and not riding their e-bikes in a way that is potentially hazardous for pedestrians. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
We have no other speakers.
Thank you. Is this a director's report?
Yes, please.
I'm going to bring back to chambers. Go ahead.
My name is Bill Cook. I live in Santa Cruz. We have embraced Vision Zero. It's, to my knowledge, only been successfully executed in one place in the world. That'd be in the Netherlands. They did get to zero about 5 or 10 years ago. Took them 30 years. We're in the middle of a cultural shift if we're embracing multimodal transportation. It's problematic. As is being described here today, my understanding is that children are not allowed to solo on bicycles until age 12. They receive regular training as part of the public education system on how to ride bicycles safely. That's the only functional approach that exists in the world to this solving this problem, to my knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jack Brown. Just wanted to give a little clarification for Andy Schifrin. I was looking at the rules for the rebate program. It said the bikes must be a class 1 to 3 e-bike. Class 1 being limited to a top speed of 20 miles per hour, pedal assist only. Class 2 being limited to a top speed of 20 miles per hour, pedal assist and throttle assist. And Class 3 limited to a top speed of 28 miles per hour, pedal assist only. It must have an electric motor of less than or equal to 750 watts. So you may want to consider the Class 3 option on the rebate program based on your concern. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to close it up and we're going to move on to Caltrans report.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Silberberger. I'm the Office Chief North for Project Management in District 5 Caltrans. I have some brief comments. I know in the interest of time, you're wanting to move along here. I want to congratulate you on your big check. That was a very big check. I also want to congratulate you on your continued progress on the Route 1 corridor bus on shoulders projects. I wanted to say it can be argued at this point that the SCC RTC is one of the most innovative transportation agencies in the state. You kind of are the leads on multimodal solutions, and you're constantly pressing, I think, Caltrans at times to do things maybe we haven't done. And so it's been very interesting to see and see the progress that you've made. It's impressive. So just a couple other quick items. This is a reminder, this past spring, District 5 completed an engineering and traffic survey study for State Route 9 and 17. The suggestions were that most speed limits were proposed to stay the same or be decreased. As a reminder, the county and city of Santa Cruz have both informed Caltrans that they would hold a public hearing and provide comments on the proposed speed limit changes. As such, the draft speed limit changes have not gone into effect as the district awaits feedback from those jurisdictions. And then the last item I was going to mention is each fiscal year, Caltrans district commits to delivering a certain amount of capital projects, what we call ready to list. This is when the project designs are completed and ready to begin construction. We're delighted to announce that with the close of last fiscal year on June 30th, the district contract for delivery came in at 95%. The reason why I bring this up is over the next 5 to 6 years, our staff will be looking to deliver multiple pavement and complete street features across the 5-county district. And this includes Highway 129, 152 in the Watsonville area, Highway 9 through Felton and above Boulder Creek, and Highway 1 through the city of Santa Cruz. You'll see work on culverts, drainage infrastructure, and on pavement. And as always, we'll try to do our best to keep you informed through our public information office. So with that, that concludes Caltrans comments for today.
Thank you for that report, and I just want to thank for all the all the great work that you guys are doing on Highway 1. Although it's a headache, they're very much a great needed improvements or around specifically in South County area. With that, any questions, comments? Seeing none, go out to public comment in chambers. Anybody have any comment on Caltrans report? Seeing none in chambers. Anybody online?
We do not have any speakers.
So thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Just one comment. That was a pretty amazing statement that he just said. And I just would like to call it out one more time, that Santa Cruz County RTC is one of the most innovative in the state, or the most innovative. I'm not sure if he said one of or the most, but that's a very nice compliment to our county and to our RTC and staff. So thank you. Thank you to Caltrans.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that. We don't take enough credit in our community sometimes with all the stuff that we have to do. With that, we're going to move on to number 26, public hearing on zero emission passenger rail and trail project milestone for public hearing. Staff.
We have Riley Gerbrandt, who's the project manager for this effort. And I would just like to tee this up a little bit and get us started here. So back in 2022, the commission asked staff to answer some very important and informative questions that that the community and the commissioners had about what rail looks like in Santa Cruz County. This was widely supported. I can't say unanimous. I think it was 11-1, but supported by the commission to conduct this study, to dive into the details and to do the work necessary and the community outreach and engagement necessary to answer crucial questions such as how many people are going to ride the train? How much is this going to cost? Our staff has worked tirelessly to answer these questions, and we are proud to be rounding the turn on milestone 4, the final milestone of the zero emission passenger rail and trail project. And we just want to appreciate the community for going on this journey with us. And with that, I would like to thank and introduce Riley Gerbrandt and the HDR team for their tireless work on this project. With that, go for it, Riley.
Thanks, Director. Thanks, Director Christensen. I do appreciate the opportunity to be here before everybody and the commission, trying to bring forward the work that has been done over the last 18 months to try and answer some of these questions and provide some data for the commission and the public to provide comment on and express their input. So if we move forward 2 slides, what we'll first start off with is a brief project overview, and then I'll introduce the content for today and hand it over to Mark McLaren, the HDR project manager that is supporting us. We also have a presentation on summarizing the financial analysis that was done over the last month and a half that was requested by the commission at the June meeting. And Director, do we have
We have Melissa Schick from KNN Public Finance on the Zoom if needed. Thanks,
Great.
Riley.
Great. Okay, so thank you. And on the screen here, we have our project map, our study area. It shows that we're looking with this project at what it would look like and take to provide 22 miles of new high-capacity passenger rail service on the Santa Cruz Branch rail line from Pajaro in northern Monterey County to Santa Cruz. And that was the preferred alternative from the previous studies that led up to the zero-emission passenger rail and trail project. We also are proposing 12 new miles of the coastal rail trail. That would be segments 13 through 20, as well as the Capitola Trestle section of segment 11. Next slide. And as Director Christensen said, we are turning the corner here on milestone 4. So on the screen are the 4 different milestones that we have completed as part of this project with public outreach and input received during each of those milestones. We now have reached the project concept milestone. We're also presenting as part of this milestone several components, including the preliminary cost estimates, which we introduced back in June, but also what are the next steps for project development. And that's kind of the work that we're going to be heading into as we turn this corner on milestone 4, and a lot of the input that we're looking for from the community and from you commissioners is helping to frame what we're going to be discussing as what the next steps are and how that gets incorporated into the project concept report. And I think we touch on that later at the end of the conversation. Next slide. So just a brief recap here on the items that have led up to today in looking back over the past 4 years. As I mentioned, the preferred scenario that was identified from prior studies was the high-capacity zero-emission passenger rail service with a multi-use bicycle and pedestrian trail alongside the branch line. And this project started in 2022 when we released the RFP. And then we had our initial milestone 1 purpose and need statement that came out in February 2024, looking at what is the need for this service? What are we trying to achieve? And then here we are today after the March 20th, 25 direction from the commission to pursue intercity passenger rail. Next slide. So here's, and the next slide. So this on the screen is what we've done over this past 2 months. We've done quite a bit of engagement with the community. We have a virtual online open house, which is open through August 22nd, receiving public comment. We've done in-person and virtual office hours. So something a little bit different this time to allow people to come in on not in workshops or open houses, but sit down with the project team and ask detailed questions and have conversations. And I'll touch on that in the next slide. We also had an informational community session on July 22nd, which there's a recording of on our website on the station design. We've gone to several community events and flyering in the community. And then here we are today with our commission hearing. Next slide. So we've heard from the community over milestone 4, these main things. Interest in the ridership, which has been strong, a strong interest point. Comparison of those ridership numbers to other systems and whether those are applicable or not. The cost estimate, people really wanted to dive into the details on the cost estimate. Wanted to know other items such as how much it would take to ride the train, the conversation of the trail or the train or both, and then obviously wanting to get to this point and get to the release of the project concept report, which was available late on the 30th. So that's a little bit of an error on the slide, but it was released last week. And then we had our financial analysis summary memo released on Monday. Next slide. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark McLaren, who's going to provide some input or more information on the draft concept report.
Thank you, Riley. Good morning.
In the project concept report that was provided to the public and has been out for review, Riley mentioned there are a couple of things as it relates to that report that are slight variations from some of the information that was shared with you at the commission meeting of June the 12th. And so we wanted to just highlight those couple of items and make you aware of them. We admittedly, the last couple of days in the opportunity for the public to comment, have had good conversation and questions about those. So we wanted to make sure that on the behalf of the RTC, we were being transparent in those changes. There's 3 items specifically. The first addressing the end-to-end travel time, which is important because of the things that it affects in the overall project as it relates to cost and the type of service. The second is the ridership and revenue analysis or forecast that we're going to discuss, and then the conceptual project cost estimates. Next slide, please. So the first item on the end-to-end travel time estimate. From the beginning of this process and this project, our goal has been to have the opportunity for people to travel between Watsonville and Santa Cruz in a trip that's in the range of 40 to 45 minutes. That's important because it's competitive with what people experience if they're driving that trip in a period that's not heavier traffic. And we wanted to be competitive with that because it's a reliable service throughout the day when we operate the rail service. As we've been going through refining the design and particularly the alignment as it relates to its relationship to the future segments of the trail program, as well as some other improvements that have been made or are being made along the corridor, for example, with railroad ridges around Highway 1. Those changes affected the travel time as it relates to the design as we currently have it. So when we went back to update that information and update the modeling that looks at that travel time, the travel time had increased because the speed of the train through the corridor was decreased because of a couple of those changes. The important thing to remember is we're only at a level of about 10% design right now. And as we advance a project like this through more detailed design, we have the ability to make the design refinements, which could include shifting where a passing track occurs or something, to better facilitate the operation of the train in both directions and bring that travel time back in line with the goal of the 45 minutes. Just was not something that was feasible to do in the time between June 12th and the presentation today. The second area where we have some change and some updates is in the ridership forecast. Next slide. When you look at the totals, as we had discussed before, we had identified ranges of ridership for each of the station locations that are part of the conceptual project. We had also identified the ones that had a high propensity for weekend travel, because travel for things that isn't necessarily part of your regular routine. So for special activities, going to the beach, other events, tourist travel, those things aren't typically well represented within a model. And so we felt it was important to also identify that as it related to these stations. We also had some updated information from the city of Watsonville and others as it related to some plans that we were able to incorporate in the model. So the model is 2 steps. It includes the data-driven piece, for which we have a high degree of understanding in terms of what land use is and how people travel and the time it takes and that sort of thing. And then there are also things that are aspirational, that are the things where the community has plans or is aware of plans for additional affordable housing or for a change in the student population at UCSC. Those sorts of things for which there isn't empirical data, but there is information available about the plans. We can also add that on top of what the model says. So that gives us a range. In this result, the low number came up from what we had estimated before. The high number came down a little bit, and that low number coming up quite a bit is actually one that gives us a high degree of confidence in what the model's doing, because that's the information that tends to be more stable because it is based on the empirical data that was available to us from plans. So for the most part, most of the stations on that lower end experienced an increase in the number of riders or passengers that would board at that station on a daily basis of 10 to 20% as we look at each of the stations along the line. Finally, in the area of the capital cost estimate, there is a slight change, and that change cumulatively is about $1.5 million to the overall cost of the project.
That cost is specifically associated with the cost for the vehicles, for the train sets. And there are two things that affected that. First of all, when I mentioned that the travel time is a little bit longer, we accounted for additional vehicles to account for the longer travel time if the travel time can't be brought back in. Again, given what we know of the project, we wanted the cost for the operation of the vehicles to be representative of what the travel time is with the work that had currently been done. The second thing is that the cost per vehicle came down a little bit, just in updated information that we have on this technology as it continues to evolve and come to market for the system. Again, like other elements of the project, it does have contingency on top of it. So should there be a fluctuation in the cost of that equipment, we've accounted for that in that fashion. So those are the three things that we have done that affected the overall bottom line of the cost of the project as it's presented to you today. Riley?
And, you know, as we met with community members over the last couple of months, particularly in the office hours, we're able to meet with the community on discussing some of these things in great detail. There were a lot of the community members who really expressed a lot of gratitude and sincere appreciation to the RTC for allowing these opportunities to meet and to go over some of these items in detail, particularly showing and talking to the community about what the corridor elements and constraints meant for this project and how those impact both passenger rail and other projects on the branch line. Next slide is the financial analysis, and what we want to do here is provide a summary for the commissioners and the community on what was completed, what was assumed, and then what the results were. So taking a step back, at the June 12th meeting, the commission asked staff to prepare and present a financial report utilizing data from this project to calculate the funds required from the local community to cover 20 to 50% of the capital cost, construction costs, as well as 100% of the gross operations and maintenance costs with those local funds. We looked at several assumptions. A key assumption was that the RTC would have a new revenue source, a sales tax measure, which is what the RTC could do at this point to bring in the revenues required. And the assumptions here on the screen are the things that were the base for that analysis. So assuming that we have a tax revenue beginning in fiscal year 21 or 31-32, for simplicity, we assumed $20 to $25 for both revenue and expenditures because there's going to be growth in both of those over the course of the project and beyond. So we wanted to just keep them all simple and keep them in $25. That sales tax revenue would be the local match for those elements on the screen right away, final design, construction, as well as 100% of operations and maintenance costs. We also assumed that half of the available regional discretionary costs would be funds would be programmed for the pre-construction activities until construction begins. And in terms of when these costs hit on the project timeline, here are some snapshots. We assumed that the environmental documentation work was completed in fiscal year 27-28. Final design completed in fiscal year 34-35. The first bond proceeds in fiscal year 35-36 on the 1.5% scenario, which I'll talk about in the next slide. And that happens when significant right-of-way and construction costs would be requiring a bond proceed. And then construction completing in fiscal year 42-43 with 1 year of vehicle testing, and then rail transit operation commencing in fiscal year 44-45. Next slide. Oh, sorry, we went ahead. So this is the results. So for a 20% local match scenario, a new 1.5% sales tax measure would be needed to fund that, given the assumptions in the analysis. That would be a bonding of $345 million required, with those debts retired by fiscal year 67, 68. For a 50% match scenario with local funds, a new 2.25% sales tax would be required, with $900 million in bonding required, as well as the debt paying off by fiscal year 71, 72. So it would cover all of the costs that we talked about and the assumptions, as well as maintaining operational needs for future rail transit operations and maintenance. The level of external funding secured would determine the specific tax rates and bond financing structure. So those things we don't know specifically at this time, though we've made those assumptions. It may be possible after completion of the construction and then retirement of all the debt to adjust the sales tax rate. But it's not guaranteed that we'd be able to do that due to potential unforeseen needs of the facility. And if you have specific questions for the financial analysis that I'm not able to answer, we do have our consultants available as well for that. And next slide. Next step. So just in front of us and the project team, our project team is looking at first item of business is completing the project concept report, including developing and fleshing out those next step items a bit more based on comment received today and during this milestone 4 period. Continuing to engage with stakeholders and the community, and then identify and pursue the remaining funding required for the environmental analysis works, which we are still needing about 14 to 16 million. Next slide. And then that leads us into questions from the commissions and the public hearing. So thank you.
So with that, Commissioner questions? Commissioner Schifrin.
Yes, you didn't talk about the rail trail component very much at all. And I think that's a very important part of this feasibility study. I do, from a quick look at the report, there is information on the segments from Freedom to Watsonville in terms of overall environmental information, and maybe also alignment information proposals, but there isn't any cost information. Is there going to be cost information for those segments in the final report?
So we are working on, I'll say this and then back up and give a little context. We're working on developing the cost for the rail trail portions. Mark can give us some additional information if you guys want to ask specific questions on that. We are really focused with this first draft concept report release to provide information on the passenger rail component of it, particularly the cost of what that would look like, so that we could begin this community conversation. And will we have it in the final concept report, Mark?
Thank you, Riley. Commissioner, the conversation related to the cost of specifically the segments that you've asked about, which are 13 through 20, the sections heading into Watsonville, that is the section where we have made, and as we were talking about, for example, the travel time, also a lot of changes in refinements and design here in the recent months, as well as a recent decision and input from the city of Watsonville specifically as to what the alignment of the segment trails that go through the city of Watsonville would look like in terms of location. We're updating those costs now, and that is information that will be available as part of the final report.
Thank you. That the contract did call for information on the rail trail segments to Watsonville, and particularly in light of what happened earlier in the agenda regarding the funding for the highway project and rail trail to Freedom. having those segments going from Freedom to Watsonville become ever more important in terms of having a continuous trail from Santa Cruz to the city of Watsonville. So I'm looking forward to getting those numbers. Thank you. Although I'm clear why the priority is on the rail feasibility.
Any other commissioner questions, comments? Seeing none?
Well, I've got questions.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Clark.
Well, I'll start with the financial analysis of this. In the financial analysis report, there's a statement in there that says half of the available regional discretionary funds would be programmed to the project. And so I'm curious, we just celebrated this beautiful new whale bridge. We call it the whale bridge, although I've not seen a single whale cross that thing. But
Wait for Halloween.
But so I'll keep watching. So projects like that and projects that are very important to our cities. We have some coming up here in my own city here in Scotts Valley. In programming half of those regional discretionary funds, how will that affect future projects like that or future local projects that desperately need work?
I could take that one, Riley. Thank you, Commissioner. So as we're all aware, obviously we've been very successful in getting grants in the past, and that is a testament to having alignment, right? So in terms of delivering this ambitious, large project, we really do need to have alignment locally if we expect the state or the federal government to contribute funds to this project. So the way that we communicate that is to invest locally in this project. And so that is a clear next step for this project to move forward is to fund it, and staff is working tirelessly to come up with a strategy on how to fund it, but it first starts with a local investment.
So as I understand it, the state and the feds, they want to see that we've got some serious skin in the game and that we're serious about moving forward with this project. And that's going to take a substantial commitment for us locally and maybe some sacrifice on local projects, if I understand what you're saying. And you guys have been amazing with the grants. Don't get me wrong. You've been fantastic with it. But just to help us get an idea of what that truly means for our local projects, and it means some sacrifice.
I will say, just to add a little perspective, in previous rounds of this regional discretionary grant process, we have committed significant amounts of funding to this project, to this check that we got. So that's really important perspective. We used to, at one point, invest all of our shares for the highway. And so we're looking at that level of commitment in order to see this project come to life.
Thank you. That's helpful to know. And I want to talk a little bit about the change in the travel time, and maybe this one's for the consultant here. But we're now up to 40 to 55 minutes. Our ideal time, I understand, is we'd like to shoot for that 30-minute mark. I'm wondering, do these travel time estimates include complete trip? In other words, from it's 40 to 55 minutes on the rail. Does that include to your final destinations, whether it be UCSC, Cabrillo, work? And have we factored in those travel times in these estimates, or is this just purely train travel?
So I'm going to answer your questions in reverse order, if you don't mind. The last question, and to be the simplest one, is that the travel time is from end of the line to end of the line. So if you got on the train at Pajaro Station in Watsonville and you travel to Natural Bridges in Santa Cruz, the intent would be for that trip to be 45 minutes or less. The 30-minute reference, just to make clear, is for the headway of the service. So the idea being that at whichever station you would use most frequently, you could go out and at least every 30 minutes through the day, there would be a train arriving for that trip.
Okay, Yeah, thank you for that. So, and I guess then my follow-up to that is, have we calculated, let's say I'm a student, I live in Watsonville, I want to take the train to Carrillo College. I'm going to have to make a connection to a bus or some other form of transportation. Have we figured travel times to potential high probability destinations like that with this?
At this time, we have not. As the modeling becomes more refined with more definition of the project, there is a lot of work that will be done, for example, to get transit schedules to dovetail with the time that a train arrives at that station so that someone knows they have a minimal transfer time to get from the train to the bus, for example, to go to UCSC. And we can understand the total travel time for that trip. But at this point, the modeling is not to that level of detail.
And thank you for that. And I just want to shift a little bit now to ridership. And if you recall, I had some questions about ridership last time that we heard from you all. And I was a little surprised at our robust ridership numbers and how they compared to some other systems in much larger populations, for instance, San Diego, Sonoma, Marin. And so I'm curious on our current ridership estimates here. With where we're at now, what has it mostly accounted for the changes to today's report versus our last report? Is it still and the answer I got back at that time was tourism. We felt that the Santa Cruz tourism would somehow drive our numbers higher. I was a little surprised because San Diego and Sonoma are no slouches when it comes to tourism. But I'm curious, does that still hold true with these numbers?
So we believe that tourism still is a big part of that. That's also one of the things that's hardest to quantify within the model. Some of the change that we saw, we believe, was actually from some of the things that previously we had, I would say, subjective information on in terms of communities' plans for what was intended or thought of for the future in not only downtown Santa Cruz, but also in downtown Watsonville. In both those cases, we had updated information that we were able, in some cases, to put directly into the model. And so the relationship may not have been exactly one-to-one in making that change over from what was, again, the more aspirational plan to something that was more definitive. Again, is the unfortunate nature of travel forecasting like that is that every time that it gets redone on a project, that the parameters change slightly, it can have a lot of impact that we'll continue to evaluate and refine as the project moves forward. And we will be going back as we finalize this to test again to either reaffirm what we have or to see if there's something that would also help adjust those numbers, particularly based on the tourism number.
Thank you for that. Moving on to our recommended train set that we're looking at here. I take it we're still looking at this Stadler Flirt train set, a hydrogen fuel set, or a hydrogen fuel generated train. I understand that that's currently being tested in San Bernardino. And I'm just curious, what's our degree of confidence that that train set's going to meet our need and be able to make the run as often as we need it to?
Okay. So you're correct that that is new technology. The vehicle itself, not necessarily as much as the motive power, in this case hydrogen. That train has been going through testing and is starting revenue service. So the operator will be learning a lot more about the experience of operating that equipment, the cost, the frequency of repairs, everything that affects that travel time. What's important to remember as a part of this conversation, when we develop a project like this, and as Riley's laid out a timeline, you are in literally speaking years away from the conversation of making the formal decision as to what your vehicle is. But for purposes of planning and programming and understanding costs, we typically identify what the community's interest is in that equipment, knowing that ultimately you're going to have to go through a reevaluation of that and a procurement that meets your needs at the time that you implement the project. So while we talk about that vehicle specifically, because it checks boxes in terms of the interest of the community, in terms of the scale of the vehicle, the type of service it would provide, the ride experience, and the environmental benefits of it. By the time the project gets to the point of specifically choosing which vehicle it is, this report is not suggesting that that decision has been made.
In the event that this vehicle just doesn't, cut it for our needs here, and we have to consider an alternative, maybe a guide-tin system or a third rail system, is there some estimate of what that does to the cost of construction for the project?
At the present time, no. We have, as we've discussed before, included contingency to address the unknowns and the things that will change as it relates to the definition of this project. As the project currently stands, it is with the intent that it is a railroad corridor that's of standard gauge that would accommodate freight activity within the corridor as well, and is not reliant on a separate form of power, be it a third rail or anything else, to provide that service within the corridor. That would be a significant change.
That'd be a pretty big curveball to any freight operations as well, right?
Likely so.
Okay.
Not necessarily, but there's certainly that potential.
And I understand that. And let me just say, I applaud the efforts of all of you who have worked on this. This is very thorough. This is the heavy lift of all heavy lifts right here. And you have done a remarkable job presenting this commission with information. I appreciate you just being honest and forthright and just giving us the information as it is to best help inform our decisions here. And so my questions aren't meant to challenge any of these things. It's really to get better understanding of this and make a better decision as we move forward on that. Just one more question regarding this train. So are we still looking at this train that has a maximum capacity of seated and standing passengers of about 256, if you include all the standing room, folding chairs, lawn chairs, anything else?
That would be the high end number. It might be a little lower. What's unique in the transit space for vehicles like this, and specifically for a multiple unit, part of the intent of this type of vehicle is that it is expandable in terms of what it might provide. So as you move this project forward, if ridership estimates because of tourism and other changes in the communities start to show that there's going to be a greater need, there's the ability to make the train a little bit longer by adding a unit in the middle and increase the amount of seating space that can be provided. And also, as you go through design and purchasing a vehicle, is the conversation about what the priorities are for the use of the inside of that train, be it seats, beach chairs, bicycles, or anything else that people may want to travel with high frequency within this corridor and in the community.
Right, and with these ridership estimates, I was doing a little comparison of ridership estimates, what we think is going to ride the train and what the train capacity is. And at our low end of the 3,500 passengers, if we hit that mark, we've got to fill that train to capacity 13.6 times a day. And I realize it fluctuates, on, off, different stations. That's still pretty ambitious. And then at 4,200 passengers, we'd have to completely fill these trains 16.4 times. And I'm just curious if we really think we're going to hit that mark or if we're being optimistic. And that's more my curiosity. You don't have to answer that question. You kind of already did with the ridership. But I just kind of wanted to point that out. And so I appreciate your time. Again, I appreciate the information to this commission. Extremely helpful to help us make an informed decision. So thank you.
Thank you.
With that, any other commissioners?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report. A few questions here. First of all, in the conceptual ridership ranges, there was some confusion when we first looked at the executive summary about whether we were talking riders or. I see we're still using the riders terminology. Are these in fact unique users or are these boardings?
Boardings.
Okay, I think we should call them boardings, not riders, because I mean, depending on how you count Highway 1, there's 100,000 cars, users that use it every day, but there's 200,000 trips, right? I mean, it's really a 2-to-1 comparison. So if we're talking about 5,000 boardings, that's really more like 2,500 passengers. And I just think we need to be very clear in the terminology. I know one thing that was requested last time was some kind of comparison in the cost per passenger, ideally cost per passenger mile to other projects across the state and the country, because that really determines sort of our competitiveness in winning state and federal grants. Is any of that forthcoming as far as work that's being done, or, I mean, where's the project team in looking at that?
Commissioner, yes, you are correct that for many of the grant programs, that is a consideration at times. And we certainly, as a part of expanding on what we had provided previously on some other systems, can provide some comparisons as to how this project would relate in terms of that cost.
Thank you. I think that'd be extremely helpful in understanding how likely we are to get some of this state and federal money. And I think it's worth pointing out that in the incredible CTC state grant that we just got for the multimodal project, we provided 50% local match. And so while we're looking at that as kind of the upper end of the range that we would need to finance with a local sales tax measure, I mean, it seems actually perfectly reasonable to expect we would need to put in 50% if we're going to win these kinds of very high dollar amounts. I mean, that's what's allowed us to be successful so far. So, I mean, a big point of this report was to look at the key constraints, the key problems in delivering this project and try to identify what solutions exist. Another big problem area is sort of how the Coastal Commission would view our project, what requirements they would impose on it. You know, a quick search of the report shows Coastal Commission's mentioned 5 times in all 266 pages, and really just a discussion of the fact that, yes, they have regulatory authority. I mean, this is obvious information. We already know this. Have we received any direct input from the Coastal Commission that we could include in this report or cite in this report?
So we have met with the Coastal Commission numerous occasions on this process, including yesterday. We have received comment from the Coastal Commission, but they've been general in nature, kind of to the point of, yes, they have regulatory authority on this, and yes, they're going to regulate the project. With the Coastal Commission, what they're really looking for is that environmental analysis work to be able to, and a project that is a preferred alternative project, as well as the alternative analysis that come during that process. So they haven't given us anything really to expand upon in the report yet.
Okay, I mean, I think we need to be just a little, we need to be frank with them, they need to be frank with us, because we're trying to calculate the overall cost of this project. And I've heard suggestions that they may require us to move the tracks 100 feet inland, tunnel under La Selva Park. I mean, these are major infrastructure implications, major cost additions to this project. And so I think we need to be very clear, ask the Coastal Commission, if they would impose any requirements on this project that would impact our costs in a significant way, they must outline them, or we will assume they don't exist. I mean, we need to know from them what they want. I mean, a tunnel under La Selva, it's going to cost like an additional few $100 million at least. Like, we need to include that, be able to include that in our math, especially if there was any expectation we're ever going to go out for a sales tax measure. We need to know we have the financing available to complete a project. Finally, I appreciate that there's some mention of the constrained segments, particularly Beach Street around the boardwalk in Santa Cruz, city of Santa Cruz, and some around Walker Street in the city of Watsonville. But I mean, here again, this is kind of some of the major problem areas that the report is meant to address. We have, of course, both the North Coast and North County and South County coordinating committees that have looked deeply at these issues. I don't think that we've really incorporated any of the specific issues or suggestions from those committees. I mean, and certainly any of the other members of the North County committee, feel free to jump in here. But some of the key issues that have come up for us with the North County segment is that looking at Beach Street, a lane of traffic and parking would need to be removed on Beach Street pretty much in any scenario. I don't see that explicitly mentioned in the report at the moment. A raised train, which is, we've heard, is the preferred option for the Seaside Company, essentially an elevated track, would cost potentially an additional $300 million. I don't see that mentioned anywhere. And then there is some mention of the existing passenger rail service on the tracks in terms of Roaring Camp. I haven't seen any solutions that would allow Roaring Camp to continue their current access to the boardwalk with any passenger train scenario. These are the constraints we've talked about in North County. We're hearing that the similar constraints exist in South County, and I think that those need to be memorialized in this report too. These are facts. These are constraints on the project, and they should be included in the concept report. That's the point of the concept report. After all this, we're paying about $9 million for this report. The cost over 266 pages, about $33,000. I think we need to get at the big meaty questions with the report. So thank you. Those are all my questions and comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioner questions, comments? See anybody, so I'm going to go out to a public comment period. So anybody in chambers, can you start lining up so we can get everyone's comments?
Thank you. Greg Kastner, resident of Scotts Valley. Again, I read the report and I do not see how it presents a case for proceeding with a rail project of this magnitude and expenditure. I don't see an in-depth study of demographics or current or projected jobs that would support or create a core ridership point to point. If we did have 5,000 riders a day, that is a shockingly low number to spend $4.3 billion on. Then, how can we saddle the county residents with $2 billion capital improvement, 80% of the operational costs through a high tax rate? I just don't see how that's going to benefit the entire community. The numbers just don't make sense. So I respectfully say, improve the trail and forget the rail. Thanks.
Thank you.
Chair, is there any way we can get a little more volume back there? I don't know if it's just me and my old ears, but I'm having a little trouble hearing our speakers.
Sound check, how is this? Very good. I'm Saladin Sale. With release of the draft concept report, all can now see the details of what a state-of-the-art intercity rail transit system might look like at cost. All can now also see the answers to questions from innocents, like how do you run two-way trains on a single track? And how do you accommodate more passengers as demand grows? Before any conclusions are reached, however, time for peer review of the draft must be allotted to evaluate the proposed design and costs and suggest alternatives for rail transit implementation. After this review, I'd like to see a final report revised to include substantive discussion of proposed alternative lower cost approaches, including a demonstration project with a streetcar or trolley, before accepting the proposed intercity level rail system as the only way to begin. Thank you.
Thank you again, commissioners and staff, for your hard work. Here's a few thoughts to add. We need alternatives to get cars off the road, especially for that close to 30% of people who don't drive. Please give the public and stakeholders more time, as Saladin mentioned, to analyze and comment on the Zephyr report and the financing report. Regarding ridership numbers, we think the report is missing downtown redevelopment plan and our connection to the state rail network, which is going to be huge. Our connection to the state rail network is critical access to opportunity. Please consider partnering with Monterey and TAMC. Sonoma and Marin formed SMART, which is a completely distinct transit agency. Consider phasing the project similar to how we've done to the trail. Watsonville has been an ongoing supporter of passenger rail, so I suggest prioritizing Watsonville for the first segment. Please consider funding replacement of the Capitola bridge trestle as a first item with both the rail and trail portion so that our folks can no longer argue over that. Thank you. There's a few other items, but I'll write those in. Thank you.
Hi, Jack Brown, Aptos. Good morning, and thank you to the RTC for commissioning and publishing Zeppert. This report clearly shows many of us have been concerned with all along. The project is extraordinarily expensive, with limited funding pathways requiring sales tax increases that will cripple our community. The next proposed step, yet another analysis, would take 3 years and cost around $15 million. Half of that is expected to come from discretionary funds, starving other high-need maintenance projects. The remaining half relies on uncertain future grants, including the Federal Corridor ID program, which may be dead. If that program's dead, we're funding declared speculative planning work with no realistic path forward. If it's alive, Caltrans and the FRA, not this organization, would be leading it. Continuing this project now looks like a strategy to keep contracts going rather than deliver real cost-effective transit solutions. Thank you, RTC, for the due diligence you did and the time, but it's time to end this Zeppert process here before it drains even more time and money. Thank you.
William Al. Again, kind of want to point out the items that both Clark and Koenig mentioned is that there's clearly some blind spots in some of these reports, specifically for the impacts it will create. And so I want to make sure we came down here specifically for the Watsonville portion, but I recognize that I think it's throughout a big portion of the rail corridor. We're going to see some impacts. We're going to see it personally, but I think on a personal note that the financial impact to this county is going to be massive. And how do we front the burden of that for everyone who the majority of it probably won't utilize it in the form of a train? So I appreciate all your guys' work and keep working hard at it, but I hope we come to a clean conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Brett Garrett, Santa Cruz PRT. Do you know that $4.3 billion is 24 times what we were told in the 2015 rail feasibility study? This has really gone off the rails. It's time to put a pause on the current effort and look into better solutions such as personal rapid transit. Personal rapid transit could be implemented faster. It could have more stations. It could have stations at UCSC. It could just serve UCSC to Watsonville directly. It would be a better experience for riders. It would have higher capacity when you think about how many people per hour can travel. It can coexist with Roaring Camp. It can coexist with whatever you put on the rail corridor. It doesn't have to be on the rail corridor. It can be anywhere. Personal rapid transit is a better solution. In the 2021 TCAA, commissioners were told PRT would be more expensive, less friendly to bicycles and the climate. That was all wrong. Revisit. Pause. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ready? Thank you. My name is Mark Lee. I'm from SLV, and I just want to give my concurrence to halt this project completely. It's in the wrong location. It's not going to be 4.3 billion. It will be more like 6 billion with 900 million in continued cost for bonds. This is untenable. Even Carlos Palacios, our treasurer, has indicated at a March 20th meeting in Capitola that right now the tourist industry is upside down by $661,000 these next 2 years. In addition, the city of Watsonville is losing 0.6% of its population every year. We do not have the population to support this particular project. We'd like to look at alternative projects that we can deliver for $600 to $1 billion.
Thank you.
Thank you. PRT.
Hi, good morning. Leslie Nielsen, longtime, lifelong Santa Cruz resident. Thank you, everyone, for all of the hard work on this. The assumption that sales tax revenue won't go up, that was a good one, but could it actually go down? I'm struggling with the population of people we're trying to help with housing and infrastructure long-term. I'm not a short-term thinker, but this is going to be so expensive for people. Can I get a ride with you over to Costco over the hill? Because $3 less on every 100 that I spend. You know, let's think of, this is a very expensive thing for a community we're trying to help. The rail corridor is a beautiful transportation asset. There are innovative ways to use it that aren't going to be multiple billions of dollars. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. Let's think about future generations. Let's think about Watsonville. 30% of the folks living in Watsonville are under age 18. The majority of, like 25–30%, do not own cars. I ride the bus. The majority of the people on the bus are Latinos. I really want to thank Sarah and the RTC for their hard work. Could they study how to build out an easier, cheaper sections first and run some demonstration shuttles on the rail by the Murray Street Bridge? Also, the wharf, we get like so many tourists. My understanding that it's close to $1 million a year with locals. Think about the future. I'm looking around here. Most of us are all over age 40 or 50. Go to Watsonville, talk to Watsonville. I talked to a lot of Watsonville folks. I talk to young people. They want public transit and they want rail service.
Thank you.
Members of the commission, my name is Elia Balich. I reside in Watsonville near Walker Street and the railway. I did participate and attend the workshop that was held in June by the RTC. Thank you for that. I wish to comment on the proposed relocation of the Walker Street tracks to the east. There has been a serious amount of false information being disseminated throughout the public about that proposal. You will be receiving future input on that issue. Contrary to the stated claims being disseminated publicly, the Watsonville Downtown Specific Plan does not specify track relocation or a new terminal location. Far more than a few stakeholders will be seriously damaged and affected. Surrounding streets cannot mitigate the loss of Walker Street access. Neither the RTC nor Watsonville city officials have notified the neighborhood stakeholders of the impacts. I first found out about it during the June workshop. Hence my presentation here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Sally Arnold from Friends of the Rail and Trail. Given that the full report, it's over 300 pages, has only been available for a few days, we have very few specific comments yet, but we do have some general things to point out. The commission has repeatedly asked for more economical choices when specific parts of this project were brought forward, and it's time for the commission to instruct staff to engage a third party to review the report, specifically with an eye to value engineering. The Mineta Institute or the staff at SMART would both be good choices. We need to engage with someone who's actually built a successful passenger rail system. 1.5% sales tax sounds high, but when you think about it, when after Metro's upcoming sales tax passes, they'll be getting 1.5% for that service. Transit costs money, serving our community costs money, and we have to decide what our values are. Widening the highway and more vehicle miles traveled and increased greenhouse gases, forcing people into car ownership or not. The RTC could take up Commissioner Hernandez's suggestion to reach out to TAMSI about creating some kind of joint agency. That would be a really good thing to explore at this point too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lowell Hurst, as I've said before, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. But fear spreads, it's contagious, it spooks the herd. Now, some members of the public are using that tactic to scare others on what is a good concept, connecting North and South County and moving people. Perhaps a streetcar or a trolley for demonstration purposes would be a good idea. I just want to say thank you for prioritizing South County and to stay the course.
Thank you.
Good morning, Elizabeth Bertrand. The one thing I would like to ask you to consider is in doing this effort to consider looking at the costs related to just a rail only, and if you're moving forward, doing the whole environmental assessment and that expensive report, to also do 2 tracks where you're looking at what it would be just the rail only. For me, I'm 68 and I know the taxes I've paid. I've lived here my whole career in life. It's getting more expensive, and the solution from all of our public officers is tax more property, tax more sales. But you've got an increasing demographic of retired folks who are every day being asked to carry a bigger and bigger burden. We need to look at effective, cost-effective solutions. Thank you for considering this.
Thank you. With that, seeing no other person in chambers, I'm going to go out to online comment.
Michael Saint. Mr. Saint?
Okay, got it. This is Michael Saint with CFST. Would like to talk about the financial analysis. I hope this would bring us all to the final conclusion that we need to put any more money or efforts into the ZEP study. It takes fortitude, integrity, a commitment to reassess and review potential change of direction. This is what we need at this time to find out how much less expensive transportation system that doesn't bankrupt our county by requiring moderately high taxes and bonds throughout its life to stay afloat. Included in the ZEP website, it does mention that the project is to explore other existing and emerging technologies in addition to electrification that will also achieve the goal of zero emissions. This has not been done at this time. Now is the time to be changing direction. May I suggest a serious look at a PRT system, which also helps in decreasing traffic congestion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jean Brockbank.
Here you go.
Good morning. I carefully reviewed the concept report before commissioners today. I asked the RTC, the commission, to direct staff and HDR to pause any further engineering and environmental review action. Instead, change direction. I like that idea. Let us focus our funding transit dollars on an expanded bus service to serve the entire county and looking at a trail only throughout the corridor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brian Peoples.
Hi, this is Brian Peoples with Trail Now. This report basically concludes the train is not financially or even ridership viable for our community. It's time to move forward with opening the coastal corridor as a real transportation corridor, as a transportation resource, which is basically rail banking, converting it into a trail, which we've already witnessed how much our community can benefit from it. So please vote no more on more train investments. We can't afford it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I have a name of iPad Mini 6th generation. That's what it says.
Oh, got me?
Yes.
Hi. I'd like to say I really like to see some transportation running on the rails. Have for years, but I am not very optimistic given the current situation. It's been 13 years. We've gone through piles of money, and it looks like we're doing a gamble here by saying, let's dump a few more dozens or hundreds of millions into this to attract investment from federal and state, which is far from guaranteed. It seems it would be much wiser to pursue something that would be more possible with our own funding sources. Excuse me, PRT is much cheaper. It's be a lot quicker to build. It would serve more stations. It would be able to connect with the metro station and potentially the university directly. I don't think it's fiscally responsible to be throwing lots of money in a pot continuously over many years in the hope that eventually the bigger powers that be are going to throw some money our way. That's just not what you should be doing with the public money. Let's go for a sure thing. If you've ridden the tram at San Francisco Airport, you've experienced a larger scale PRT. It works great. And the smaller scale can have more accessibility to more stations. People don't have to continue on. It has sightings when you want to get on and off. That's the best way to spend our money. You should at least give some really serious research and not keep gambling with the fact that you're hoping that someday someone will dump up billions of dollars on us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Four?
Good morning. This is Matt Farrell, and I'm speaking today on behalf of Fort. We submitted a letter to the commission. A few highlights I'd like to point out is we're supportive of a peer review, value engineering work on the cost estimates for this project. We think it'll be helpful to get some outside eyes on it. And secondly, the other point I wanted to emphasize is we feel it's very important to include the adopted growth forecasts from the downtown Santa Cruz expansion plan that was adopted by City Council. And it's not clear to me that that's included in the report. And finally, we support putting out a request for expression of interest or proposals for a trolley on the branch line, rail service on the branch line as an interim demonstration project.
Thank you.
David?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm David. I live on the west side. Regardless of how long it takes to eventually implement passenger rail here, I think it's worth emphasizing that the best course of action now remains absolutely unchanged. Please continue to build out the grant-winning rail trail as planned, without removing or paving over any of the rail line. Thank you.
Thank you.
James Wheeler? Mr. Wheeler? Weller?
Do you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. My advice, I'm getting too much feedback here. Go ahead and I'll pass my.
Okay. Bud Culligan?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The conclusions of the Zeppert report are definitive. You only need to keep three numbers in mind: 4.3 billion in capital, 41 million in annual operating expenses, and a 12% sales tax approved by 2/3 majority. It's time to move on and address the real transportation issues in our county. With a sales tax looming next year for Metro, we cannot burden every political issue with the rail trail debate. Let's work together to make Metro even better. The community wants a trail. You will solve many seemingly intractable problems by rail banking the corridor. Future transit options are preserved. State grants we've received for the trail won't expire. Low-income mobile home park residents won't be thrown out of their homes. The cost will be within our means. Roaring Camp can continue to deliver tourists to the boardwalk, and South County will get a real trail through Harkin Slough away from the dangerous traffic on San Andreas Road and Beach Street. Let's seize this moment and work together.
Thank you.
Robert Means.
Recently, I read an article about a pod car project in the Guadalajara, Mexico metropolitan area. A soccer stadium where the 2026 World Cup will be held has traffic problems. So they are creating a pod car system, PRT system, to connect the stadium with a major bus rapid transit route, BRT route, about a half-mile away. Price of the system is roughly $16 million per mile of guideway. But here's the surprising part. They will start construction late this month and expect to complete by year's end, with an official public launch on May 8th, a month before the 2026 World Cup kicks off. That's just 4 months to build it and another 4 months to ensure it is safe for public ridership. Given the urgency of our climate crisis, time is arguably our most limited resource. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joanna Lighthill.
Hi, Commissioners. Thanks for considering comments today. I just want to take a minute to thank Commissioner Schifrin for bringing attention to the trail component, which doesn't seem to be talked about much in the ZEPRT project. The ZEPRT project focuses on trail segments 13 through 20, and that's about 12 miles. And I learned that of the 12 miles, 8 of these are scheduled to be outside the corridor. What I learned just this week is that any portion of the trail that's built outside of the corridor is not included in the $4.3 billion estimate. So it appears that any bike and pedestrian improvements planned for South County will not be funded. So I encourage the Commission to reevaluate the trail portion and find out what portions fit in the corridor and what don't. There are real corridor constraints in segment 10 also. Thank you for your comments, for your time.
Barry Scott.
Yeah, thanks very much. This is Barry Scott in Stockton, and thank you for your hard work. What I want to say more than anything is continue to build the trail as planned, keep the tracks. We watch as the cost has gone from 176 million 10 years ago to 478, 4 years ago to 4.3 billion this year. And we have to stop and look at why did this happen? Well, we made assumptions that we'd have the biggest possible train on these tracks with the fastest possible speed and the highest possible freight rating, when in fact, we can still move freight without the highest possible freight rating. We can move a lot of people, probably more, for a fraction of the cost if we had selected one of the other options in the TCAA. I would submit that nobody on the RTC staff, as qualified as they are for things, and none of the commissioners have specific rail experience. And I really urge you, I think some next steps should include looking at what we've done, thinking about how we can scale back the kind of the size and complexity of this and involve our partners, TAMC and other agencies that do this work for a living and have built successful projects. Finally, the idea of doing a phased approach, starting in Watsonville. I mean, look, what did we do with the highway? We never came to the people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sean?
You know, the people who are trying to obstruct rail, they keep losing all their measures, all their fights. They tell us that there's no money on the day that, grants have been announced over and over again. Brian Peoples, call again, Manu, they all said that Measure D would settle the issue. We think it did. Jack Brown likes to put out on social media over and over again that, we could have already had a trail. Telling people that they have control over land that they don't own and have no say over. None of this has been true. If anti-rail were a stock, you would dump it. If it were your daughter's boyfriend, you'd throw him out and stop funding her lifestyle. If it was your neighbor who was showing sympathy for a business that's defrauding
Thank you.
renters.
Thank you.
Cami?
Hi there, Cami Corvin, and I'm a resident of Castle Mobile Estates, a housing advocate for senior low-income people here. But you already know that, and I've already expressed major concerns on that. What I think an area that's not been touched on is with this possible tax increase, you know, I'm vice president for Think Local First, and we support locally owned businesses. What is this going to do to our locally owned businesses? I mean, seriously, that kind of an increase of tax is just going to make it really difficult for these people to survive and continue here. People are then going to start going over the hill. They're going to start doing more online shopping. Santa Cruz was built on these mom and pop situations, and we need to continue to support them. And this is not the way to do it. I did send you an email regarding what I feel are misleading claims in the CEPA report regarding Castle Mobile Estates and the rail, and hopefully we can discuss this further. So thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Trink?
Hi, I want to thank the commission for this report that really will, if this project moves ahead, could fund us for hundreds of years into the future rather than just another 25 or 30 for highway widening. I know that the amount of money we're looking at, $4 billion, is a lot, but I encourage the commission to look at alternative funding for our local portion of that. I noticed that some of the counties in the Bay Area have something called a county transit project a fund that, or excuse me, tax that is added to the vehicle licensing fees, which I wonder if might be useful for us as well. It seems that California, with its rail plan, is looking at rail growing in the future. And perhaps what we need to is to begin to look at our state legislature for other ways to fund, besides the local sales tax, to support local communities like ours that are looking to add to that state rail plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Will?
Hey guys, very, very interesting subject. So the cheapest way to build a passenger rail system is to not build for freight rail. If we just build for passenger, that cuts a whole bunch of money from the budget. I think it's very funny that some people insist on building freight when the passengers are cheaper. But the most important thing right now, build a multimodal station in Pajaro and save Metro. We need a robust Metro bond. We need to help Monterey build Pajaro Station. That is the real way forward if we care about public transit in our county, if we care about the people who can't drive, if we care about multimodal transportation. Those should be your focuses with our immediate budgets, with our resources, and then aim at the future. And again, if we just build a passenger train, that's much cheaper than building a freight train. So if we can just get everyone on board that passenger is what we want, not freight, our problems are solved. We have the money already.
Thank you. With that, I just see no one else online, so I'm gonna close it up. Any last minute?
A couple final comments, Chair. Thank you. So looking at our funding scenario here is if we're looking at a 1.5 to 2.25% additional sales tax on top of what potentially Metro may get here in the coming year, I want you to think about a little bit what each of us is responsible for, either a municipality or a county or some population that we represent. I want you to think about how these sales taxes affect the most vulnerable in our community. The low-income folks, our senior folks. In fact, we just recently learned that Santa Cruz County has one of the highest, if not the highest, percentage of growth in senior population in the entire state. So I want you to think about 1.5 to 2.25%, what that would do to their purchasing power. And think about going to them and saying, we're going to reduce your purchasing power by this amount. I hope you're okay with that. Or any of us who bargain with labor unions or different contract and going to them and saying, we're going to reduce your salary by 1.5 to 2.25%, what type of reception we might receive on that. Now, again, I want to reiterate what I talked about last time is that, in case you become anesthetized to the cost of $4.2 billion, what that represents, that is the entire city budget for all 4 cities in this county, Santa Cruz, Scotts Valley, Watsonville, Capitola, for 16 years. Every bit of money that we make, police, fire, roads, everything that the cities do, this dollar amount represents those budgets for a total of 16 years we would have to dedicate just to build this project. That's not even the operations and the maintenance of it year to year. So it's a big lift. It's a lot. And I just put that out there for consideration as you're thinking about how we might do this or what sort of impact this might have. And as we heard from Director Christensen earlier, this will cause some real sacrifice in terms of other important and priority transportation projects in our areas. And that's the decision before us, is whether we're willing to do those things and proceed forward for this one transportation project. So thank you for the time, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner DeSerpa.
Thank you. What I don't think we've talked about today is the per person per ride cost. So the $4.3 billion price tag, the $41 million operational costs per year just to operate. That's year one, I think, out the gate. And then to actually get on the train and go anywhere will likely be, let's say, around $10 a ride times 2. $20 a day. If you have to go 5 days a week into work, it's $100 a week times 4, $400 a month. And then on top of that, you probably have a car that maybe is parked and you have to pay insurance on and a car payment. I mean, it's just not affordable for people. The other thing I am concerned about are people that live in rural areas, like in Monica's 5th district, Supervisor Martinez's 5th district, get little to no benefit from any of this project, will have to shoulder the burden of increased sales tax. Anyway, those are heavy concerns for me. In my area, and I live in a rural area myself, all of our insurance for our homeowners insurance has either been completely canceled or people have had to use the what's essentially the FAIR plan, which is up to $12,000. They're paying $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year on top of all the other expenses going up, like their PG&E bills and everything else. So the costs are staggering, and I don't think they make sense. So anyway, I just wanted to bring those to everybody's awareness. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Schiffer.
I think there's no question that $4.5 billion, not really affordable by the community. At least it doesn't seem to be affordable at this time. The problem that I have is the inability to see the future. I don't know what the future is going to be. Often act as if now is the way it's always going to be. We're only going to be able to get maybe, 50% or 80%. We don't even know what public transportation or private transportation is going to be like 5 years from now or 10 years from now. We don't know what the federal administration is going to be like. We don't know what state administration is going to be like. So while it looks, from my perspective, very bleak in terms of passenger rail, at this point, that doesn't mean it's always going to be that. I have some concerns that keep getting drafts. Last time there was the executive summary. This time there's a draft project report. We need the final project report before we decide what we do. I think that it's a complicated report. I've tried to get into it somewhat. I'm confident that some of my other commissioners to have drilled down to the detail, but I think we need more time to, one, get the final report, and two, to really have some opportunity to really absorb it. I, uh, I, I think it's important also to think about whether peer review makes sense. This is one option. Is there a cheaper option? Is there another way to do it? What is the relationship with SMART that we heard about? Is that relevant or it's not relevant? I tend to think what happens in other communities isn't particularly relevant to us since they have such different situations, but maybe it is. I think we may need more information on it. So my sense of what we should do today is put this off for a few months so we can get the final report. I'm particularly concerned, as I mentioned earlier, about the rail trail component. I think no matter what we do on rail, we need to pursue the rail trail segments from Freedom to Watsonville. They're really critical. So that would be my recommendation, is that we continue this item until December. And the reason I choose December is that's when we're going to make the decision about the allocation of the $15 million. And as staff says, do we want to put it into the next step of rail or don't we want to put it in step of rail? One of the commissioners said, if we put it into rail, what won't get done? So I think that's the time to really look at what the next step should be. When we have all the information and we're best able to make those kinds of choices. So I don't know if it would be appropriate to make that as a motion at this time. I don't want to cut off any other commissioners, but I'm certainly prepared to move that we continue this item until our December meeting when we have the final report.
Just one question, is that feasible to get the final report in December?
That sounds great, actually. Staff has been working really hard on this report, and we're not done. Many of you are already ahead of us, and you're asking for more information about, next steps, and like Commissioner Koenig's question about the Coastal Commission, for example. Today's consent agenda included a contract for our planning folks to dive a little bit deeper into climate resiliency for the branch line, which is a responsible thing to do as a property owner of any kind of facility that's along the coast or that is threatened by climate change. So we're not done. We need to wrap this up. We have a little bit more engineering work to do. We have some work to do on the trails. We have a boundary survey for our right of way. Like, this is a really valuable process that we're going through. And our goal this summer, we didn't take the summer off. We worked through the summer very hard to get this information out to the community and to respond to the commission and the community's questions and concerns about this project. So we actually really appreciate a little bit of, breathing time, if you will, to really do this right.
Thank you.
We'll make it as a motion to continue this
I
until.
would like to point out one thing too. The executive director talked about the item on the consent agenda, which was the climate resiliency. And I just so that there's not any confusion, that's a necessary component no matter what we do. And it's a responsible component with what we do. So regardless of where you lie on the rail and the no rail or the trail, that's a component that has to happen no matter what we do with the line. I just want to make sure, point that out, and make sure everyone understands that that's the case with that item. All right.
I made a motion. I don't know if.
Made a second. Second.
Commissioner Kiros Carter has her hand up.
Me too.
Well, I'll put that up in a minute. She has her comments of Commissioner Carter.
Thank you, Chair. I'm listening to this project, and I'm definitely supportive of the motion to move this to December. I think staff has been working really, really hard and getting a lot of questions, and I really appreciate that they've been very forthcoming, that the level of design is at 10% and it's not final yet, and giving them more time and giving us more information, I think is very, very prudent. I think it's a little too soon to make that decision. I just want to address some of the things that I'm hearing. I'm making notes, so bear with me, literally sticky notes. But some of the biggest concern that I have with the project is the tax measure. We in Watsonville, we are completely capped with our taxes, and placing that on Santa Cruz County, I think that's just too much of a burden to shoulder at this point in time. So I really encourage staff to look at other funding sources and other avenues. I'm not sure if the NEPA and the CEQA, if that was touched on at all, but I mean, hopefully we can get that done and see, get a little bit closer to more like 90% of design, and seeing what we actually need to do and seeing what these agencies are going to require from us gives us a lot better of an estimate. The 4 billion, I find that really, really high as well. Other jurisdictions have done it way, way, way cheaper. And so I think that there is room for us to collaborate with other jurisdictions, perhaps with Monterey County, with TAMC, and seeing, what they are doing and how they made it work and how they did it way under this estimate that we have. In regards to us losing our spending power, maybe, that is a concern. However, when people like me who actually sit in traffic every day, I sit in traffic for about an hour and a half each way. It's gotten worse with the Murray Street Bridge. And it's just gotten worse and worse. Although these projects are much needed, it's really, really challenging for commuters like myself. So I think for I can't speak for everyone, but people who commute, I think would rather spend 45 minutes in a train or on the bus, or doing something rather than driving in gridlock 2-mile-per-hour traffic, because it is very exhausting. So I'm very supportive of the Zebra project, and I'm not going to change my mind on this. And a big reason, I think, is because it does really, really help people like me. Yes, we might be spending a little bit more. I spend already $100 in gas easily per week, probably closer to 200. So spending $100 on a train and then taking one bus, as opposed to getting up at 4 a.m. and taking 3 buses, is way preferable to me. Again, this is not, we don't have all the information. We're kind of conjecturing right now. I hear a lot of speculation and conjecture. We really can't make these decisions until we have a bigger design percentage of this project done. 10% doesn't really give us enough to work with. Yeah, I think that's all I have. So thank you so much for your time. And I'm very supportive of pushing this to the December meeting, because I think we need more time, and we have a lot more questions that need to be answered. But thank you to staff for presenting us with what you have and for working so hard over the summer for it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. So could you state your motion again?
Motion is to continue this item until December, when the report is complete.
I seconded it, and early December, right? Did I hear that?
It'll be the first meeting.
Okay.
Hopefully we will meet at the beginning of the month this year.
Thank you. I do have a few comments too that I want to say.
Go ahead.
So, I do represent the 4th District. I do represent Watsonville, but I do also see greater good with this project for the entire county and the region as well. I just wanted to point out that, federal and state funds for passenger rail cannot be used for other local priorities. Much of the 4.2 or 4.3 or 4.5 that I heard billion-dollar project would be paid with federal and state grants that are specifically earmarked for rail and public transportation. If we reject this, those funds don't stay here. They go to another region. So saying keeping the money here is kind of a false premise that the money isn't ours to repurpose for hospitals, schools, parks, or even other alternative road projects. Representing Watsonville, I think that Watsonville
Chief, and put your retainer in.
Stand the most to gain.
Come put your retainer in.
Retainer.
And rinse your teeth out since you ate.
I gotta put my retainer on. Just kidding. But Watson families do stand the most to gain from rail access. Transportation is one of the highest household expenses in South County, especially for working families. Every car a Watsonville household can avoid buying saves around $1,000 per month in payments, gas, insurance, and maintenance. So rail means real economic relief and greater access to jobs, schools, healthcare across our county and even the region with TAMC's plan without having to rely on Highway 1. And that's transformative for our county. The sales tax is largely paid by visitors. Over 40% of sales tax revenue in Santa Cruz County is paid by tourists. That means outsiders help pay for infrastructure within our county, and that'll be used for benefit for us. Watsonville's existing tax capacity stays available for targeted local needs like schools, hospitals, because this investment draws from a broader regional and visitor support. Public transit is one of the most effective investments a community can make. National studies show that every dollar invested in public transit brings back $5 in economic returns through job access, reduced congestion, climate resilience, and community health. Rail connects Watsonville to higher paying jobs, higher education from UC Santa Cruz, Cabrillo to CSU MB, and regional services, building a bridge to opportunity and not just a commute. This is not just a tourist train, it's an essential transportation piece. This project centers on equity, not tourism. Watsonville's residents deserve the same access to modern, efficient transit as the rest of the county. Rail would serve local working families who are currently forced to drive long distances, pay high fuel prices, and lose hours of quality time in traffic. Equity means investment in South County, not just from Watsonville. Watsonville deserves investment, not isolation. For far too long, South County has been left out of major infrastructure planning. This project changes that narrative, placing Watsonville at the center of the regional mobility in with the TAMC's plans. This is a moment to say yes to long-term benefits, jobs, transit, economic mobility, and a cleaner air. Turning it down because of short-term fear would repeat the cycle of underinvestment. And, speaking of transportation, in a previous meeting, I had mentioned that this plan is the Cadillac plan when we're looking for the Toyota Camry plan. This is actually a Rolls-Royce plan that, a $350,000 car when we're looking for a $20,000 car, like a reliable Toyota Camry. And I do agree that we do need more time to look at this plan though, especially to look at the cost savings that we could do in the different projects, cutting back that Rolls-Royce to a Toyota or even a Cadillac, right? So that concludes my comments.
I'll be supporting that section. I'd say is very prudent. But I like staff to give us more time to digest. So as soon as you have it, whether it's a week before, so people can digest, because that was a lot of the emails that I was getting and calls were like, we only have, few days to look over this big document. How can we provide, more time to, for comment? So.
Sure, we could definitely take that direction and, extend our, engagement period. We'll talk in maybe at my next director's report, I'll give more information about, potential additional engagement opportunities. And then one thing I do want to note, I would like to invite the commissioners who have not seen the Santa Cruz Branch rail line to come out on the line with me, because this is a single track freight line. It's a fixer-upper, and it's not visible from many places in our county. And we now own a rail vehicle. We have a high rail truck, And so I just want to invite you all to come out, those who have not come out with me. It's helpful to see the property that we own. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to follow up on the chair's comment about timing of the release of the final report. It's not just a public engagement. I think it should be up on the website as early as possible, final, so that the public and the commission has at least a couple of weeks, if not more, to absorb what the staff recommendation is going to be, and what the full report contains.
That sounds great. We don't tend to hold information. We we want to release it and give people as much time as we possibly can. And what the feasible timelines are. We just, it's a significant amount of work going into this study, so.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Just a quick comment. One of the community members that spoke just a while ago said that we need to actually focus our time also on our youth. Every time I go to an RTC meeting, I see the same faces. I always see the same faces. I've been to two before I was a commissioner, I went to the RTC meetings twice and I see the same faces. We need to focus our time on bringing those youth that actually are going to be the future, because Commissioner Schiffer, you said we need to look to the future, and those youth that we engage with and bring them to our meetings, those are going to be the future, and those are the people that are actually going to be keeping this trail and rail going. I'm almost 60. I have a few more years to go. I'm probably not going to be able to see this this rail come to fruition, but we need to bring our youth, and let's see them get this going and keep it up.
Thank you. Commissioner Conan.
Yes, thank you. Just a couple questions. So first off, for our executive director, what was the current anticipated timeline of when we would review the final report and vote on whether or not to accept it?
We don't really have an exact timeline. We were expecting the commission to probably give us some direction. We are still working on a few things, so we are constrained by our resources, obviously, but we need to kind of regroup with the team and get back to you guys on next steps.
The other thing I would point out to Commissioner Schifrin is, I hear your point that December is going to be a critical, decision point when we look at funding that's available in our community and how we want to allocate that funding. Those meetings can already be pretty long when we look at the consolidated call and how to allocate those meetings. I'm not sure that we want to, I could be supportive of adding a little bit of time to this process to make sure we get a complete and thorough report, but I would be hesitant to have both the final review of this report and the consolidated grant awards happen on the exact same day. So I would be willing to make a friendly amendment that we review the final report in November, that the report is released no later than October 15th, and that the final report includes specific feedback from the Coastal Commission about any input they have that would add cost, specific discussion of constraints on Beach Street and Walker Street, and specific financial analysis of cost per passenger mile that compares the cost of our system to others, as well as some peer review of our report.
I'm going to stick with December. As the commissioner said, we tend to see the same faces. They tend to speak on every item that's related to rail or trail. So my sense is that, we have long meetings, and I just think it's useful to talk about what we're going to do about the report at the same time as we have a decision to make about how we're going to allocate funding. I think Clark said early on, there are choices get made. What projects are going to get done and what projects you put it here, it's not going to go there. I think that puts the decision on the next steps on the rail study in a more realistic context. So I'd be happy to add the other parts of your amendment, except keep it on December. that's acceptable to you.
Okay, I'll bring my sleeping bag.
Well,
It'll be a long meeting. We'll have lunch.
I wish that would be an unusual occurrence. If it's
Commissioner
acceptable to the second, then,
Commissioner Martinez.
It's
no, I just wanted to, because there are some amendments that want to be made in terms of what will come back, and that needs to be acceptable. Second.
I will accept that. I agree with Manu, though. We're gonna have lunch and dinner for that meeting.
I don't.
Yeah, Commissioner Martinez.
I'll start with a question. Commissioner Koenig, can you just break down what you just added to the motion so I can better understand what the staff's being tasked with?
Sure. So I suggested that the final report that's presented to us includes specific feedback from the Coastal Commission about any input that they would have that would add costs to our project, specific discussion of the constraints on Beach Street and Walker Street, specific financial analysis of cost per passenger mile that would allow us to compare the cost of our proposed system to others built nationwide, as well as peer review of our study. And I had suggested a release date of approximately 2.5 weeks before the meeting. So I guess include that as a relative time rather than an absolute time.
So much for taking a breath. We will, yeah, I think all except for the peer review. The peer review, if we were to do some sort of peer review in order to get like an independent look at this, it might take longer than the end of the year. So I will caution you with that. And then also, if you're asking for information, staff will do our best to seek the information, but it may not be available. We get vague responses from the Coastal Commission, unfortunately. So we'll do our best.
Okay. Is there any way to get sort of, rather than formal peer review, to get some general input? I mean, my understanding is that actually you've already been doing some of that. Maybe you could comment on that, or yeah.
We could talk internally and figure out how to do something a little bit maybe abbreviated, but independent. We have a lot of rail consultants who specialize in this type of project that are already under contract. We have an on-call, so maybe we could exercise that contract and get a little bit of review on this.
Yeah, to any extent, I think it would be helpful. I'm willing to, let's go with that sort of suggestion of what definition of peer review as being general input from various rail consultants and other potential agencies.
I think my sense was that we would get a report on peer review, because actually, just like the commission should vote on the final report, any peer review should be on the final report. And since that's not going to come out for a while, if to the extent that it's possible to get some review by others, that'd be great. But if not, we should maybe just find out what it would take to get a more detailed peer review on the final document. That's okay with.
Sure.
I mean, we could do both, right?
Right.
Include
Yes.
peer review light in the document that we review in December or mid-November, and then also get a sense of what it would cost to do something more thorough.
Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you. And to continue, thanks for the clarification. I might kind of add my support behind separating the two items into two separate meetings. I'm not sure that hearing this report would change the conversation on the consolidated application. We already put that out to the other agencies to apply. They're going to apply. We're going to have some recommendations on what to do with those funds, and those projects will probably be in the queue well before much other decisions are made around what's happening with this project or even the environmental on this project. So I might, just for the sake of giving the consolidated application like the due diligence it deserves, it's a huge part of the RTC's work and huge, you know, partnership with our other agencies, I might prefer to separate the two on two separate meetings. So just sharing my 2 cents to see how others feel about that. And I appreciate adding the additional information to the motion. I have questions in each one of these categories, you know, like other colleagues on the commission. I think there's a lot to digest here, and I'm just hoping to be as well informed as I can before accepting the report or making a decision about where to move forward. And then while I have the floor, I just want to also contribute my gratitude to the staff and our consultants on this incredible work. I know you're getting, you know, further questions. That's to be expected. But I feel like we asked you to do a job and you're doing the job that we asked you to do. So I really appreciate the efforts.
So just know, I will accept those additional additions to the motion.
From
Both of them had them. I do apologize to staff. You're gonna have to work through Thanksgiving, your holiday shopping time, and maybe even.
So with that, I think we got ourselves a motion and a second. So based on other comments, you do a roll call.
Commissioner Jensen,
Aye.
Commissioner Keeley, Commissioner Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner Montesino,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Commission Alternate Schifrin,
Aye.
Commissioner DeSerpa,
Aye.
Commissioner Koenig,
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Kitos Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Leonor.
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
So with that, well, thank you for that. So now we're going to move on to item 27, review of items to be discussed in closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have one item for closed session. It's an anticipated litigation involving 2 cases. We do not anticipate it to take very long.
Okay, and afterwards, we're going to come back and do the specials, talk about
That's correct.
Murray Street. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, we cannot hear Commissioner Schifrin online.
I'm sorry. I was wondering how many people are here who want to speak to the closed session item as opposed to the special meeting, because if most of the people here want to speak to the special meeting, I wonder whether we should have the special meeting first, then go into closed session, so we don't have people sitting around. I know we always think our closed session is going to be really quick, but it often isn't. So that would be my suggestion, unless there's a strong.
How many items is there for closed session?
One.
Just the one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Do we need to come back and report out on closed session then?
We do not anticipate a reportable action from this closed session.
Okay.
And can we do that, you know, because we base it on a, you know, special agenda?
The commission could just pause the regular meeting that you're in right now, convene the special meeting, conduct the special meeting, and then we'd resume the regular meeting session if that's the desire.
I'd make that as a motion.
Why don't we do that? Yeah, so let's do that. You know, it's been first and second. And can we take a roll call?
Commissioner Jensen,
Aye.
Commissioner Keeley, Commissioner Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner Montesino,
Yes.
Commission Alternate Schifrin,
Aye.
Commissioner DeSerpa,
Aye.
Commissioner Koenig,
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Kitos Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Leonor.
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
So with that, we pause the regular meeting, so we're not going to our special meeting to talk about, you know,
We should just formally call it to order and take roll.
It's called to order the special meeting. So do we need a roll call? Roll call?
We do, yes.
Commissioner Jensen,
Present.
Commissioner Keeley, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Montesino,
Here.
Commissioner Hernandez. He stepped out. Commission Alternate Schifrin,
Here.
Commissioner DeSerpa,
Present.
Commissioner Koenig,
Here.
Commissioner Martinez,
Present.
Commissioner Downing also stepped out, Commissioner Kitos Carter,
Here.
Commissioner Leonor.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, and with that, can we get staff report? First item.
So I think, so number 2 on the agenda is consider AB 2449. Just cause.
So we continue to have Commissioner Kitos Carter using the regular Brown Act. And again, the address is posted on the agenda on our website.
And with that,
Oral communications. Sorry. Oral communications?
Oral communications are limited to items on the special meeting agenda. So to the very item.
so oral communications in regards to the item that's on the agenda? Is that what or not in the agenda? Public comment?
Right on this side.
I don't.
Hello. Excuse me for reading this, but my name is Patrice Boyle. I'm the owner of La Posta Restaurant on Lower Seabright, and I'm here to talk about the Murray Street Bridge.
This is, so you'll get an opportunity to talk about that when we go to that item. This is
Different item.
Yeah, the next item.
Great. Thank you.
So, this item is, stuff that's not on the agenda for the special meeting. So anybody in chambers have? See no comment? Any online?
We have no speakers.
So with that, we're gonna go to the agenda's item. Oh, staff.
Thank you. Director Christensen here. So this special meeting was called by the chair. This is regarding the City of Santa Cruz urgent request to use the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission's railroad bridge crossing the Santa Cruz Harbor temporarily for pedestrian and bicycle access during construction of the city's Murray Street Bridge retrofit project. And this item was brought forward by Commissioners Fred Keeley, Justin Cummings, and Manu Koenig. And for that reason, I will turn it over to any of those commissioners who would like to give a general report on this item.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I want to thank Commissioners Cummings and Koenig for their work on this in the last little while.
I think we can't hear you.
How about that?
There you go.
There we go.
Thank you.
I want to thank Commissioner Koenig and Cummings, as well as Commission Alternate Schifrin for their assistance on this, and Council Member Sonia Bruner and Vice Mayor Shebra Kalantari Johnson for the companion measure that is on the Santa Cruz City Council agenda next Tuesday. A way to look at this, I think, is that this is somewhat like, I do not want to overstate the analogy, but I think this is somewhat like there's a construction project. There are traffic and transportation issues implicated. Project is underway. Some of the traffic and transportation issues that were anticipated are either more serious or less serious. And so during the course of activities in a construction project, it is not unusual at all to make some modifications of some of the mitigation measures as you're moving through a compound complex project. I don't mean to be flippant about this. I think this is somewhat like you were going to have 20 orange cones going in a certain direction, and now as you're operating, you realize 15 of those cones need to go in a different direction, or that you put up a sign that said detour and the detour is not entirely addressing or not as satisfactorily addressing a particular issue, so you change the detour. That is something we experienced during the during the West Cliff Drive reconstruction effort and so on. I think this fits in that kind of category where we are on an intergovernmental basis between the county, the RTC, City of Santa Cruz, trying to address a very temporary issue brought on by a major construction project. And we have the flexibility to be able to change how it is we try to address those impacts in real time as we move along. This is presented in that spirit, and thanking those who have been involved in this multi-prong approach, of which the part in front of the RTC is a one component part, but a very major component part in this adjustment for how we deal with issues as we move through a transportation project. So again, thank you to all of those involved in the last couple of weeks in trying to put this together. And as I say, we will have a companion measure next Tuesday. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the staff as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and huge thanks to Commissioner Keeley for putting this, for helping to organize this special meeting. I think it demonstrates an incredible amount of responsiveness to the entire community that's dealing with the impacts of this construction project. Someone who lives in the area, I can tell you that the impact has been profound, particularly going from one-way travel on the bridge to the full closure. And I mean, I think a lot of us see it on SoCal Drive, but what less people see is that further down, looking from 7th Avenue over to the harbor, I mean, it's a ghost town. There's not a soul walking on the street. There's no one driving. There's no one biking. And of course, I presume that the impacts have been similar on the Seabright side. I have to admit, I haven't been over there. And that's precisely the problem, right? La Posta is probably one of my wife and I's favorite restaurant. We used to go all the time. Still do find opportunities, but probably not as much as we used to. I used to grab pizza on the way home from work from Engfer's Pizza. I admit that hasn't happened as much anymore, simply because there's not a way to get easily through this neighborhood. And so I think that looking at a temporary solution here will make a profound difference for the businesses in this area, which are beloved, I think, to all of us in the community. And so I'm excited about the potential to move this forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll have comments after the public.
Okay. So now I'm going to move on to public comment period. Anybody in the chambers like to expand this item of the agenda?
Oh my gosh. I guess I'll go first. My name is Patrice Boyle. I'm the owner of La Posta Restaurant and Lower Seabright. I have, this December, we will be starting our 20th year there. The building itself was built in 1904. It's been in continuous use since then. So it's an important part of the community. First, a shout out. Thank you, Mayor Keeley. Thank you, Manu. Thank you, everyone who put this on the agenda. I really appreciate it. The closure's only been for 4 months, and the total closure has only been for maybe a month, and the effects have been devastating. Mayor Keeley saw that when he did a walk around the community a couple of last week. Businesses are down, and I've talked to like everybody, and some of them are here. Businesses are down 20 to 40%. Am I done?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want you to know that we will be going out of business if we don't get help. There's not even a bus down there. There's not even a bus. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a business owner on both sides of the harbor. I own Java Junction. I appreciate the fact I get a minute to talk. Both my stores, my sales are down about 25 to 30%. If you look at the traffic on Seabright, there's no traffic. If you look at the traffic on Murray before the bridge, there's no traffic. That traffic used to be backed up to Ocean Street. The traffic on Seabright used to be backed up to maybe Broadway. The traffic getting out of the harbor area backs all the way up. It takes you 25 minutes to get from Shoppers Corner, 25 to 40 minutes to get from Shoppers Corner down to the harbor. I do that path all the time. all of our businesses down there are hurting. You know, we need anything we can do, since nobody did anything prior to the start of this project that we've known that was going to happen for 30 years, and nobody did any pre-planning for this. Why the bridge wasn't open and prepped prior, so we weren't put in a last minute situation of having to do this, but we need help. I echo what she says. I echo what Manu said about traffic. It's just, we lost 20,000 cars a day.
Thank you.
Bill Cook, Santa Cruz. I'm very grateful for the rapid response that community is seeing from the commission. Everybody is gathered here to think about how to make better use of our resources so that less suffering might occur. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Seabright businesses are hurting with the Murray Street retrofit, and I hope we can help address this issue. This is primarily because of the inability for cars to cross the bridge, not so much cyclists or pedestrians. I bike regularly from Live Oak to the west side and frequent businesses like Java Junction and La Tremonti. The safest route, Arana Gulch, to access those businesses, we waited years to be able to have a safe route to access them. So I propose that we instead consider a temporary rail shuttle like TIG-M that can accommodate people who drive, walk, and cycle across the bridge. I believe that trying to implement temporary pedestrian biking service on that rail line will require rail banking, and thus could take 3 to 10 years to provide access and might not result in access. So I hope we look at other options. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Saladin Sale. This sudden emergency due to inadequate pre-planning is a backdoor rail banking without discussion. It was instigated by a Greenway supporter who donated $5,000 to Greenway's Defeated Measure D campaign in 2022 and actively uses social media to advocate for removal of the tracks. Don't take the bait. Don't fall for this thinly veiled effort to rip up the tracks. The Murray Street Bridge is scheduled to partially reopen in February, and the Arana Gulch Trail remains open now. Voters in 2022 were clear. They don't want this sort of thing to suddenly happen without public input and discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack Brown, Aptos. It's been 3,157 days since a train last crossed that bridge. Meanwhile, the adjacent road bridge has been closed, severely impacting traffic and the local economy of Seabright. While it may reopen to one-lane traffic in February, as just noted, it's supposed to close again next summer for more repairs. We have an idle rail bridge sitting right next to a strained road bridge. This is the perfect opportunity to put that unused rail structure to work. Converting the rail bridge to active transportation use, bikes and pedestrians could provide a safe and much needed alternative route during the construction without having to detour around the marina. This is a practical, immediate use project with real community benefit. It won't solve all the issues, but it's a low-cost temporary solution. Let's not let another summer go by with traffic backups and no alternative when we have infrastructure sitting right there unused for nearly a decade. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Enda Brennan, local attorney here for 37 years. The use of the word rail banking in the prior discussion by a couple of these speakers is a total red herring. There is nothing involved in this measure that has anything to do with rail banking. Simply put, businesses are dramatically affected by this closure. You have the opportunity to do what the Regional Transportation Commission is intended to do, which is to allow people to move more efficiently through our county. There is a bridge that can be used to connect these two communities. Please do it.
Thank you.
Hi, Elizabeth Bertrand. I would just like to speak for the sailing community. I sail with the UCSC Community Sailing Program, and my daughter is a sailor with the Santa Cruz Yacht Club. And there are a lot of sailors who would use this to walk and ride their bike to get to the harbor. There's a lot. there's a lot of sailors who've had to give up sailing because of the Murray Street Bridge, because they work full-time. And with the bridge out, they could have ridden their bike across. You know, if you put this in, they could make it before the boat leaves. So speaking for the sailing community, I know they'd love to have more walking and bike riding access to get to both sides of the harbor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sally Arnold, and I usually speak for Fort, but I want to make it clear that we only found out about this proposal on Tuesday. So our board has not had time to consider the proposal or develop an opinion. So I'm speaking for myself. But I'll just say that when rushing things and calling them an emergency, people's anxiety gets up. They don't see all the implications. And just because someone says their suggestion is simple doesn't mean it's a good idea. The Murray Street Bridge closure isn't an emergency. It was planned, it was expected. It wasn't planned, they didn't plan for traffic mitigations, which is a problem, but it's going to reopen in February. And if you rush this, there are risks. Who's liable if somebody falls off that rail bridge into the harbor? Or the tracks are under federal jurisdiction. Will you be in a violation of the STB or FRA if you do that? Do this? The bridge is going to reopen in February. It's not going to be any relief for people who drive or take transit. As someone already said, there's not even bus service down there. Those are serious problems that this is not really going to solve. It is the appearance of a solution. If it's not rail banking, then please include that in the measure. Say that explicitly.
Thank you.
Hi, I really sympathize with the businesses. I had a small business for almost 30 years. The proposal sounds an awful lot de facto rail banking. 3 years ago, Measure D was defeated by the biggest margin seen in 50 years. The measure specifically calls for converting the rail line to a pedestrian and bike path via rail banking. Please respect the will of the voters. Simply saying this is not rail banking is not enough. Include an amendment to commit to not rail banking the line or reject this plan altogether. Quickly, this is a super complicated, let trains go past that, go over it. Highway 17 underpass, this is kind of segueing off. That was a 13-year project before it was completed. Highway 101, the overpass, that's a 24-year-old project. That's for the animals to go over Highway 1, 24 years. Highway 17, that was 13 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lowell Hurst here. I'm concerned that the RTC would approve this proposal without any information about the engineering, budget, source of funding, or potential regulatory approvals from state and federal agencies. I think it's time for a rail shuttle on the bridge that'll carry bikes.
Thank you. Seeing no one else in the chamber, anybody online?
John Will.
Hey guys, me again. This is absolutely rail banking. Let's all be very clear. If we vote for this, we are voting for rail banking. Rail banking is not the end of the world. It still allows passenger rail. It only affects freight rail. I'd also like to thank all the politicians for being so good at thanking all the politicians. Accountability, work in progress. And let me see, I got time. Wow. I would just say this does seem rushed. Like this seems like a kind of just not the best process. And I'm for rail banking to get passenger rail because I'm our leading passenger rail advocate. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Brian Peoples.
Hi, this is Brian Peoples with Trail Now. We fully support this proposal. It's the right thing to do for the community. We've been advocating to open that bridge for a decade, but this is a great example of how a local community is impacted by keeping a valuable transportation corridor closed. I think the people who have businesses there are now realizing how great of a resource we have sitting there in front of our eyes. We have this in other sections of our community, Capitola, Aptos, Watsonville. So please move forward with this and let's show this as a milestone or example of what our community can do with this great transportation resource that's just sitting there unused. Thank you, commissioners, for proposing this. Great idea. Thank you.
Jean Brocklebank.
There you go.
Hello, I absolutely support pursuing this creative idea to get more bike and pedestrians access to help the businesses which are having difficulties, great difficulties. You know, we've been asked, some people are saying, let's wait till February. That's 6 months for one lane of the bridge to be open. And by the end of 6 months, the businesses are going to be in more dire straits. This has nothing to do with rail banking. I repeat, this has nothing to do with rail banking. It's a creative idea that deserves to be looked at, and I encourage you to do that. I'm even assuming that this is okay with the Port District. I live very close to the harbor. I walk every day, and there are places that my husband and I walk that the Arana Gulch bike path is out of the way for us. So it's, so let's pursue this. Let's pursue this project. It's the right thing to do for our businesses. Thank you.
David?
Very good.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, I'm David. I live on the west side. Last week, we took a bike ride from here to the harbor through the recommended detour at Arana Gulch and then to Brommer and Chanticleer to see the new whale bridge, which was really nice. And then we took a SoCal bus home after shopping at Gray Bears. The Arana Gulch detour was just fine for us. The Santa Cruz City page says the bridge will reopen for walkers again in February, which is really quite soon compared to a project like this. It sounds like these car-dependent businesses need their car access back. A few bridge walkers aren't going to save their businesses, right? I mean, seriously? Thank you.
Thank you.
Fort?
Good afternoon, commissioners. This is Matt Farrell, and I'm speaking for myself. I wanted to say that I am a Seabright resident and support the efforts of the city to provide assistance to the businesses. I think a real solution to this problem is to provide a rail trolley on the line, and I would be willing to work on pursuing that project as part of addressing the needs of the business community in Seabright. I think building this path on the line creates a de facto rail banking situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barry Scott?
Thank you. I thank Commissioner Keeley for looking for alternatives to reduce the impacts of the closure of Murray Avenue Bridge. I doubt that it's going to be permitted, and I think it would make a lot more sense to float an RFP for some kind of a service that uses the rail line, because that's its presently permitted use. To change that use may be challenging. I also want to point out how this really shines a light on how car dependent we are. Goodness gracious. And I'm sorry for the businesses, but we are just stuck in car land, and all the more reason that we should be looking for passenger rail solutions and bike and pedestrian infrastructure for permanent solutions, so that we don't have to suffer these horrible problems just because a car lane is closed or a car bridge is closed. So let's see what we can do with.
Thank you.
Cami?
Hi, folks. I can't even believe that we're having this discussion morally and ethically. I mean, they are absolutely suffering, and I don't care what anybody says. We need to think local first. We need to support our locally owned businesses, and these guys are suffering, and we need to do whatever it is as a community to help these people out. And I commend Manu, I commend Mayor Keeley and Justin Cummings, although I may not see eye to eye with with all of them. I absolutely agree that we have to do something for these folks, whatever that turns out to be, but it needs to be done and we need to support them as we do our other locally owned businesses again. So thank you so much for taking this into consideration. And please, please, please think about supporting these guys and how we can do that.
Thank you.
Ryan?
Yes, I'm Ryan Sarnataro, longtime resident. And this situation is just another example of what happens when there's a failure revision on the part of the RTC. It's about time that the idea, the fantasy of a train is put aside and that the corridor go into service as a community asset. And also, you know, as a person who has been injured as a result of that corridor not being built, and people have been killed as well, there are real costs to delays. So please use this as a stepping stone to do what the community wants and needs. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I see no more public comment online, so I'm going to bring it back to the commission for appropriate motion.
Yes, thank you. I support the recommendations, and from my perspective, this is an emergency situation, and we have to take unusual action. Putting down plywood or whatever is temporarily put down over the railroad bridge so pedestrians can walk over it without falling through the tracks is a temporary stopgap measure. If we're even able to do it, given the probable need for approval from the trade easement holder. Any attempts to make it permanent would require abandoning the freight easement, which is going to take years. So don't have to, I think we're kidding ourselves to think that this is a stepping stone towards doing that. And not to mention the cost of designing and funding approach. In terms of the rail trolley, it sounds like a great idea, but that would also take months, if not years, to implement. However, thinking about the recommendations before us made me realize that we not only have an emergency, we have an existing project. The project to construct a permanent pedestrian and bike trail over the yacht house has been approved. The EIR has been certified. 30% design drawings have been prepared, and 60% of drawings are expected in the fall. Segments 8 and 9 of the rail trail are that project. That is a project that we are moving forward with. If we want to provide a permanent bike and pedestrian trail to support the Seabright neighborhood and businesses, and to provide alternative access between Mid-County and the city of Santa Cruz and UCSC, we need to expedite construction of that project. We don't need to go in another direction of another project that's going to take years. We need to get that project as fast as possible. I've heard that the bridge is going to reopen in 2026 on one lane. I've heard that it's not going to open in 2028. I think the commission needs to take action to try to expedite this segment 8 and 9 project in a couple of ways. One is to push our consultants to get the final design by the end of the year, with a goal of going out to bid in January of 2026, awarding the bid in the spring of 26, and trying to get this project built by the end of 2026. Still will be a time when that project will be really needed, even if there will be one lane of traffic on. I'm not even sure that will happen. We would need extra money to do that. So besides expediting the timeline, I think we need to go to the CTC. We have an emergency situation here. I think justifies additional funding to expedite the completion of the design, expedite the construction of that permanent trail that would then, if it was constructed, would go from Bay Street in Santa Cruz down through to the Santa Cruz Wharf, through over the San Lorenzo Bridge, and to 17th Avenue. Provide permanent bike and pedestrian trail that would serve the businesses as well as serve the city of Santa Cruz, Live Oak. So while I totally support this recommendation, I think it's needed right now, and it's something that hopefully we can do right now. I think there is an alternative in the relatively short term. The commission is willing to pursue it. And if we're able to obtain the necessary funds to do it, we can expedite and bring forward, just as we did with segment 5 on the south coast of the river, bring forward the funding and get segments 8 and 9 built in the next year. That will, I will be making a motion to direct staff to do that after the commission votes.
So I just had a quick question. I might have missed it, but for council and our director, this does meet all the AB 2449 for emergency meetings. I mean, it is something that we've been working on and a plan that we've been working on. So I'm just kind of wondering if we're kind of dotting our P's and Q's there.
Well, the item that's on the agenda today, and this is a special meeting, so you're limited to that item, is the temporary. So the suggestions that Commissioner Schifrin just identified are something that should come back to the commission and be agendized as something.
Okay. And for our director, you know, putting up the temporary type of board or whatever they're saying on the rails, it does still have to meet DOT standards, and that RFP needs to go out, correct?
There are many details that are yet to be worked out. So this is an effort really being led by the city of Santa Cruz, and the RTC staff is committed to helping figure this out.
Would it be the same level of work and commitment that we have to do on our part to actually do a real, not a permanent, but like a real trail, not rail trail there, or look at something like that, along with what some of the folks mentioned about public passenger rail to come across through there? I'm just thinking that we're doing the same thing, but now we're doing a temporary one. Why not just expedite the real one, you know?
Right. Well, I will say that
It's just more money spent, more time.
funding is
effort
constrained.
Yeah.
For sure. So there's a lot of ideas on how to solve this problem. And, you know, in my conversations in the last 24 hours with the city staff, we are obviously, you know, constrained by funding and trying to solve this problem and address this urgent need in a quick and cost-effective way. That is difficult to do. But we are committed to working with the city to figure this out. Obviously, we have a more permanent solution coming. That's not scheduled to go to construction until 2027. And just to manage expectations, we're not going slow on purpose. It's the way that projects get developed. There's a process to it. There's a lot of details and engineering that goes into it, and that takes time. So in an effort to get something in place in an expedited manner, there's this proposal for a temporary solution. All the details haven't been worked out. So I apologize for that. But, you know, we have many opportunities in the future to come back with information as this evolves.
Yeah, I just think it's a big political decision right now. And I think that it just came on to us, you know, very little time in discussion. So, and I'm still kind of, you know, if it is an emergency meeting, then do we meet the standards for that?
We do meet the standards for the special meeting to consider just the temporary air issue. And really what the commission is being asked today is to authorize the executive director to engage in the discussions with the city of Santa Cruz and to come forward with a potential temporary solution to the issue that would have to be worked out between the two agencies, recognizing the contractual obligations we have under the ACL. So there are a number of factors that would be considered in this, but the commission today at this special meeting is limited to the temporary solution option, whether you want to direct staff to go have further conversations with the city about it. We can bring the other issues back at a subsequent.
And so, Commissioner mentioned that he would entertain sort of looking at passenger rail too, that some of the folks brought up on public comment. Would that be part of looking into this process?
That's not currently the city's proposal.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Kelly.
Chair, I'm sorry.
Who's next?
Yeah, just real quickly here, I want to affirm the comments that were made by the business owners. I was actually down in the Seabright area this last weekend having dinner with friends, and I've seen the impact firsthand. I was down there trying to support your district there, Commissioner Keeley. But, you know, those of you that have grand illusions about this, what this is, other than your elected officials standing by and saying, help is on the way. We understand it. We get it. This is a terrible situation. And I applaud the commissioners for bringing this forward and the city of Santa Cruz council members as well for bringing this forward. This is what we're supposed to do, is to provide relief in these kinds of situations. And I applaud your responsiveness. I'm prepared to make a motion for staff's direction on this. I would move that we agree to allow the city of Santa Cruz access to the railroad bridge crossing the Santa Cruz Harbor and its approaches for purposes of providing a temporary pedestrian and bicycle facility between Seabright Avenue and 7th Avenue, subject to approval by the railroad operator. And we direct the executive director to negotiate an agreement with the city of Santa Cruz to facilitate the implementation of these actions in an expedited manner. And we direct the executive director to work with such other public agencies to facilitate these actions.
Second.
So it's been first and second. Commissioner Sifford.
I'd like to talk about the emergency situation because my understanding is in an emergency situation, there are certain kinds of emergency permits that projects can be granted that relieve them of normal processing requirements. So if it's okay with the maker of the motion, I would ask that it includes direction to staff to look into the possibility of using emergency permits as a way of expediting processing. The goal here is to get something down on the bridge right away. There may be a way of doing that that can be done while there's negotiations with Progressive Rail, while there are discussions with any other permitting agency. And it's a question of whether the commission can give that kind of an emergency, or the city can give itself that kind of an emergency permit. Probably would be discussed at their meeting on next Tuesday. But I would like to see it incorporated into the, recognizing that from at least this commission's point of view, we're responding to an emergency in as quick fashion as possible.
Yeah, I'd be willing to accept that. So as I understand it, just essentially, let's use whatever emergency powers we have and exercise those to help expedite the process. And I'm happy to accept that.
Could we also do the review of the public transportation along the corridor?
I think that goes beyond the scope of what we're trying to do here today. I think that's an issue that we could take up at another time, which I'd be happy to do that. However, for the purposes of today and for this motion, I think we need to stay focused on the emergency at hand.
At least a review, a scoping kind of, not necessarily.
Well, and I appreciate that, but I believe it's beyond the scope of what we're trying to accomplish today, which is deal with this emergency situation. And I agree, we should look into those other things, but not as part of this action here today.
Well, I'm still a little concerned about this, so.
So I think Commissioner Quiroz Carter's.
Thank you, Chair. Perhaps I missed it. I stepped out to use the restroom, but I didn't see, is there any like accompanying visual, or perhaps the commissioners who brought this forward can kind of walk us through a little bit what they're envisioning? Because without any visuals or anything, it's really hard for me to conceptualize. I don't, my brain doesn't work that way. I need a visual. In addition, I'm a little bit, although I really want to help the struggling businesses, I'm hesitant to support this because I feel like the language is very, very vague, and I'm really not understanding without a visual, without a presentation, what we're being asked to do. Are we just being asked to give authorization to explore options, or is there a specific, is there specifics that we're being asked to approve of today? And I feel like this came without, I didn't see anything in the agenda packet with regards to what this looks like or what the conceptualization is, and that makes me very hesitant to want to support it. So I need more information. I understand that this is being purported as an emergency item, but this construction has been going on for a really long time, and within the time that it took to get this on the agenda, I would have hoped to see more of a clear outline of what the proposal is, because as of now, I understand it is to help the businesses, but in the piece that we're being asked to look at, I'm not conceptualizing it. So if I can get some more clarity on that before I make my decision, that would be wonderful.
Go ahead.
I wonder, my sense is that it's all happening very quickly, and there isn't a specific resolution at this point. It's going to move forward to try to find a temporary solution very fast. I mean, this is a day-to-day problem for the businesses in the area. So I wonder if it would be acceptable to the maker of the motion to add that the commission receive a report at our next meeting with visuals on the status of the the project and any work that has been done. Because I think, I hesitate to speak for Commissioner Keeley, but I think his hope is to have a solution out there within the next week or so that people can start using it. So, but I hear the concern, and I think it's a legitimate one. I think the feeling, everybody knew the bridge was going to be closed. It was a shock. I mean, the bridge was going to be rebuilt. It was a shock to me to learn that it was totally closed. I think that at least I just was aware of it a fairly short time ago. So, while we knew there was going to be a project, I don't think we knew the impact that it was likely to have. So the goal is to move forward quickly. I think the commission and the public deserves a report on what that will look like, because I think we've heard that there are concerns that this is the first step towards the end of the world. But the fact of the matter is, it's just going to be something very short-term, temporary. That's my vision of it. And I think if it's going to be done quickly, that's the way it's going to have to be. So if it's okay with the maker of the motion, let's get a report next. Let's get an agenda report next meeting that outlines, describes what's been done, what it looks like.
Yeah, I'm happy to accept that as part of the motion. But again, let's keep the focus on what we're actually trying to accomplish here today, which is to authorize the executive director go forward with these plans so we can start putting these things in motion, as well as letting the city of Santa Cruz work their end of it as well today. But I think it's fair to ask for a report back from staff.
So the intent of the motion is to give approval to the city to institute the project.
Correct. It's as stated here in the staff report, allow the city of Santa Cruz access a railroad bridge crossing at Santa Cruz Harbor and its approaches. My computer just went away. But it's as stated there in the staff report, and it's authorizing them to move forward. Let's make this happen quickly, and then we can get a report back. That's a completely acceptable portion.
I think that really does add to the transparency of this, because I think that's one of the issues that I'm having, right? That we don't have anything in front of us showing we know the intent, but how they're going to do it. And I know they need to discuss that, but if they can have the report, even earlier than next month's meeting, they can email it to us at some point, at least like an initial report. That would be a little more helpful for us to kind of digest this. Because like I said, it is a big political decision, but I think having that information is key. So
And I'll accept those additions. I don't think this is rocket science. This is urgent, designed to provide temporary relief to businesses in the Seabright area on both sides. And so, so let's pass it.
With that, I'm gonna call out the question and get a roll call, please.
Commissioner Jensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Keeley, Commissioner Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner Montesino,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
aye.
Commissioner Alternate Schifrin,
Aye.
Commissioner DeSerpa,
Aye.
Commissioner Koenig,
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez.
Aye.
Commissioner Kitos Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Leonor.
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman and members, thank you very much.
With that,
Well, I would like to make a motion to direct staff to return at the RTC September meeting with one, a work program having the objective of the construction of segment 8 and 9 to be completed by the fall of 2026. 2, an application to the CTC for emergency funding necessary to achieve this objective.
Kiros Carter, and I'll second.
May I ask a question to council? In a special meeting, are you allowed to add a motion that's outside what was already published?
The effect, in this instance, I think it's allowable because the motion is simply directing that something come back to the commission at a subsequent. It's not actually doing that action.
Thank you.
with that, any questions? Can I get we have to have a roll call?
Well, maybe I can just give a little bit more background. I think this is, we're moving forward with segments 8. We're supposed to be receiving update of the financial analysis in fall. We are concerned, I think, the Commission's been concerned, that there's going to be a gap in the funding. And it's unclear how that gap is going to be filled. I look at this as, while it's a challenge, it's also an opportunity. This is a project that the Commission has approved. It's not coming out of nowhere. It's not starting from scratch. We've received a significant grant from the state to construct the project. The concern is that it's not going to be enough. It seems to, and I think the other side of it is that while we've got proposed dates when the bridge is going to reopen, things don't always go as they're intended. So if it's possible to move forward and use this situation as a way of expediting the construction of this trail and potentially get additional funding to fill whatever gap there is in the funding of the trail, I think it's worth doing. It may not succeed. All it's asking, all the motion is asking is that staff come back with a report next month that looks into this option. But, we've seen that in emergencies, things can be done quickly. And while having, the ability of pedestrians to walk over the railroad bridge will be a help, having a permanent path there that bikes can use, and it's a continuation of the bicycle paths that now, and pedestrian paths that now are on the west side of Santa Cruz, will be a real plus. And hopefully we'll get there eventually. This may be a way to get there a whole lot faster. So I think at least it's worth looking into.
So would you mind repeating your motion?
For me,
Would you mind repeating your?
that one, the staff would return at the direct staff to return to the RTC September meeting with a work program for having the objective of the construction of segments 8 and 9 of the rail trail be completed by the fall of 2026. And two, an application to the CTC for the emergency funding necessary to achieve. Staff will come back and say that none of that is feasible. So be it. I think it's worth at
may I-
least trying to go for it.
I'm sorry, Chair, may I make a friendly amendment to that? To also direct staff of the possibility of a shuttle, a temporary shuttle for pedestrians and cyclists as well? To research the feasibility and have that, bring that back with the report.
If it would get me a couple more votes, then yeah. I'm happy to do it. I mean, I think it would be great to have a shuttle. But what we would have to go through to try to get a shuttle in terms of financing and regulatory approval, I think would just put it out too far. The thing about segments 8 and 9 is they're ready to be built. We know exactly what needs to be done. We just don't have the final drawings and we don't have the money. That's the problem with that.
Well, that's a big hurdle.
And that can be a big hurdle, but you know, the CTC has given a lot of money for the rail trail segments. They've funded them all the way out to Freedom and with significant amounts of money. It's also extremely expensive to build a thing, as we've seen with the one so far. But once they're in, they're there for generation.
Andy, with all due respect, if I could just make a comment, I think staff has their hands full with the final draft report, or not draft, the final report on ZPERT upcoming. Like, I don't want to put more on their plate that they have to do now, especially because we don't know if the rail is going to go or not. So I would prefer to wait until that decision. Then we'll know better how to design the corridor. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? I don't know if Sarah would like to comment.
I will just note that there's a lot of unknowns right now. This is something that came to us. It's a proposal by the city. It's not a proposal by staff and RTC. This is something that we're, obviously the motion passed. So it's like, okay, we're, as of now, committed to facilitating the implementation of these actions that the city wants to take. We could help the city with figuring out the funding, but I'll say it, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Pretty much anything's possible with money. So that's definitely part of the puzzle that staff's gonna have to, support the city on figuring out. And I love the creativity of, emergency funding from CTC. I didn't know that that was a thing, but we could look into it for sure. And we're, your staff's online. I've been communicating with them constantly. Even just right here with Claire Glockley in the audience. So this is an evolving issue and we need a little bit of time to bring back more information, but we appreciate having some direction now, supporting, the facilitation of this potential improvement or connection. So with that, I'm going to leave it at that. There's a lot of unknowns and we need time to solve this problem. Thank you.
So with that, no other comments, I'm going to take a roll call.
Commissioner Jensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Keeley, Commissioner Clark,
No.
Commissioner Montesino,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Alternate Schifrin,
Aye.
Commissioner DeSerpa,
No,
Commissioner Koenig,
Aye, but clarify, we can't actually direct staff to do anything other than agendize this item.
That's where they're requesting information when the agenda item comes back, so it will take staff time. It's not just.
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez,
aye.
Commissioner Kitos Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Leonor.
Aye.
That passes with 2 noes.
No, thank you. So we're gonna close that, special session and we're gonna, reconvene this, the regular session with the closed item. Can you repeat the closed item that we're?
I think we're going to another room, commissioners.